If Issei didn't have the boosted gear but had something just as powerful if not more so and not of any of the worlds the power of the 7 deadly sins Issei harem slight X over with other animes. Chapter 1 I do not own high school DxD Issei will have his harem and then some list will be at the bottom. We'll have some characters from other anime but only if I find it appreciate. Issei will not have a scared gear from the DxD but will have all the powers and the weapons of the 7 deadly sin includes the DNA of the non-humans. In a nice little town called Kuo we find a little boy about 5 years old with brown hair and eyes is about to play in a park when a girl that is about his age maybe a year or two older with long black hair and gray eyes runs into him. The girl then looked up then said in a slight panic tone, "I am so sorry," then run behind him gust as 2 male got there on tried to grab the girl but she didn't want to go with them as she seemed to be trying to get away so he decided to help and get in the way which surprised all 3 of them. The first male looked at the boy and said, "Hey kid, get out of the way or you will pay for interfering in our business now scram." The kid said in a slight terror in his voice, "Not going to happen." The second male said, "Wrong choice kid," then gave him kick in the ribcage with so much force that he went into a wall and the force broke his ribcage and the rib pierced his heart and lungs. The last thing he saw before everything went dark was the girl still resisting the 2 men. Mindscape. The young boy woke up in a wide open field with all kinds of flowers. He looked around and saw a table with 7 people. One appeared to be flouting on a pillow and was a boy and one was many times bigger the others and was a girl. So he decided to walk up them to find out where he was. As he got closer he could tell that 4 of them was male, 2 was female and the last one he couldn't tell the gender. Then one of the females who had black hair and gold eyes noticed him coming. Them said to the others, "Look who is here," and all of them turned and looked and saw the boy. One of the others got up who had blonde hair and green eyes walked up to the kid as said, "Yo, how are you doing Issei?" Issei looked at the blonde then asked in a scared tone, "How do you know me? Where are we and who are you people?" "Well, first where are we and how we know you is simple as we are inside you as this is called a mindscape. As for who are we are the 7 deadly sins and my name is Meliodas," said Meliodas. "Okay, how am I here and you lot as well?" asked a confused Issei. "Well, you are here because you are on the verge of death as you tried to help the girl," Meliodas began to explain. Issei interrupted in a sad tone, "Oh man, I am going to die, and I didn't get to protect that girl." "Calm yourself boy, you are not dead yet and time moves differently in here now," the black-haired lady said. "Oh, okay, how did you 7 get in my mindscape then?" asked Issei. "Well, for us to explain that you need to know our history so sit down and we will explain," said Meliodas. "Merlin, if you please do the honors as you seem to know more." "Sure. I will captain," said the black-haired lady now known as Merlin then turned to Issei. "Okay Issei, I would like to save the questions till I am done okay?" "Okay, I will try my best," Issei said. "Good." Merlin said then began to explain. "Okay, to begin you need to know that there are other universes than the one that everyone is born in and we come from one of those universes. It is similar to this one yet different. The universe we come from has 5 races. There are the human race, the fairy race, the giant race, the goddess race, and the demon race, and some of our weapons have magic we call sacred treasures. In our time there was 2 great war and it was the demon race against the other 4 races. The first one ended in a stalemate as the demons race was sealed away. Then 3,000 years later when the seal was destroyed the war restarted. In the end we 7 sacrificed ourselves to separate the 5 races into separate realms and the goddess races decided to send us into this universe. Now any questions?" "Okay," Issei said then asked in a confused tone, "What do you mean similar to this one?" "Well, for you to ask that then you have no idea that the myths and legends of this universe is real, but back in our universe most people have some kind of magical power we call abilities," said a male with pale blue hair and red eyes. Issei said, "Sweet, so what happens?" "No. Well, we are going to become one with you and you will gain our power and weapons and the knowledge how to use our attacks. Also your DNA will change as some of us are not human," explained Merlin. "So, you are the 7 deadly sins, but who and what are you?" Issei said. "Well, as you know my name is Meliodas. My sin title was the Dragon Sin of Wrath. I am of the demon race. My sacred treasure was called Lost Vein, a short sword, and my abilities are full counter which send any magical power back at the caster at double strength when I am normal, and when I was my demon power it becomes Hellblaze. It is a black fire of the demon race that cannot be put out until there is nothing left of the thing that you burn," Meliodas explained. Then the giant girl laid down, so she was more or less eye level and said, My name is Diane the serpent sin of envy. My sacred treasure was called Gideon a warhammer, and I am of the giant race, and my ability is creation, which allow you to manipulate the earth." The male with the pale blue hair said, "Guess it is my turn. I am the fox sin of greed. Ban was an immortal, but I gave that up to keep my beloved Elaine from death. The second time which you will have my sacred treasure was called Korek House, a 4-section staff. I and my ability is snatch, which allows you rob objects in an area. It also lets you rob the physical abilities like speed, stamina and raw strength." The flouting boy then said, "My name is Harlequin, but I go by King the Grizzly sin of sloth. And I am of the fairy race. My sacred treasure was called Chastiful, a spear that can change shape. My ability is called Disaster. It gives us the power over life and death, as it can turn a scratch into a severe wound, mild poisons into lethal toxins, and a small tumor to rapidly spread." The one that he couldn't tell the gender came up and said, "One of the 7 deadly sins. I am the goat sin of lust. My name is Gowther. I am a doll. My sacred treasure was called Harriet, a twin bow. My ability is invasion. It let you enter somebody's mind and you converse with their subconscious or can alter their memories. Now it is my turn. I am Merlin and am the boar sin of gluttony. I am what you would call a former human. My sacred treasure was called Alden Crystal Ball, and my ability is infinity. It can stop time on anything as long as I wish," Merlin said. The last one, who had way too much muscle than humanly possible, walked up then said with pride, "Greetings, I am one of the 7 deadly sins, the sin of pride, and my name is Lion Sin Escanor. The sacred treasure I use was called Rita, a battle axe adored by the sun, bearing the name of a maiden, and sunshine is the name of my glorious magical power that will steadily increase and decrease depending time of day, and the power belonged to one of the archangels." "Wait, so you are the reason why I have the 7 crimson animal birthmarks," Issei said. "Yes, now that is done, we all know what to do, and Gowther leave Meliodas till last, as he can take care of the 2 devils and take Issei back home." "That Issei, as if it is okay with the boy first," Merlin explained. "Yes, it is, but on woe conditions," Issei said. This got Meliodas's attention and said, "And what would they be?" "Firstly, can you please take the girl with you when you go home," gaining a nod from Meliodas, "and the second is I want you to explain everything to my mother, please, so she doesn't worry if the weapons just show up," Issei said. "Consider it done," Meliodas said. Real world, it may have been hours in Issei's mind. But it had only been a couple of minutes. The eyelets of Issei opened. "They want the usual brown. They wear green," which indicated Meliodas was in control. He got and looked around to see the 2 devils still trying to get the girl to go with them. He then lunged himself at the devils and gave the one that kicked Issei a punch in the head and sent him flying. The other one saw and was about to attack, but Meliodas used his demon power to scare the devils away, which worked. Then he walked up to the girl and said, "Yo, please come with me," then started to walk to the Hyodo residence. After a 15-minute walk in silence, the duo walked thought the door and meet with Issei's mother, Miki. Miki saw Issei. She was about to ask how he was, but when she saw the eyes she asked, "Who are you and what have you done with my son?" Meliodas said, "Mind if we have a seat, as it is a story." Miki then led the 2 to the living room where Meliodas introduced himself, then explained everything from the meaning of the 7 crimson animal birthmark to what had happened at the park and how he was in control of the body under the 2 conditions and the weapons that he placed on the table. Then he got up and said, "Now I am going to bed." Then let Gowther finish of the transformation, then looked at Miki before saying, "One more thing, Issei will be out for a couple of days so his body can get used to our power, so you might want to be with him with a cold press and to make sure he is okay." He then went upstairs to bed. Miki then looked at the girl and asked, "So who are you then?" The girl then said, "I am Ophis, and I and the Ouroboros dragon. The 2 men that was trying to get me were devils, and they promised me they will help me if I gave them my power, but I had recently learned that they gave me an empty promise, so I took back my power and run, but they had found me, so I run, but I didn't get far as I run into your son, who tried and protected me, but that didn't go well the first time." Miki, "Oh, you poor little girl, do you mind if I asked what the promise was?" "I wish to reclaim my home," replied Ophis. "And where is your home, Ophis?" Miki asked. "My home is the only place I have known. Silence, that is the void," Ophis replied. "Oh dear, that sounds lonely. How about you stay with us, as a home is never where you was born but where the heart is," Miki said, and then took 10 minutes trying to get Ophis to agree, then went upstairs and took care of Issei. Over the next few days Miki took care of her son with the help of Ophis. On the 5th day when Miki went to check her son, he was sitting up in his bed and seeing as he was okay, and told him everything that Ophis had told her. The next day Mickey sent Issei to school. Then when she got home she made plans so he know use his powers and how to protect himself, and there was only one place that trusted, so she went to the phone and rung someone. After it rings a couple of times someone answered in an old voice. "Hello, how may I help you?" Mickey, who was nervous, took a deep breath then said, "Hello, my name is Mickey and I need your help." After the school day was finished Mickey went to pick up Issei. When they got home Mickey sat Issei down and said, "Now eyes, we need to talk." Issei looked at his mother and asked, "What about?" "About your future," the mother replied. "I am sending you away to train so you can get used to your new strength and power, but don't worry about schooling, you are going to be home-schooled until you are 15. If you think that it is best then okay," Issei said in a sad tone as he didn't want to leave his mother. "Hey, no need for that, I will be visiting for your birthday and I will be around for Christmas and every change I can get for that I promise you," said Mickey trying to cheer up her son, and it did work. "Now let's go and get you packed." When they was up the stairs and packing when Issei remembered something then looked at his mother and said, "Hey mom, what is going to happen to Office when I am training?" "Why, she will be with you as she asked me about it and is already there," replied the mother. A couple of hours there in the countryside in front of a big dojo when Mickey walked up to the front door and pushed it open, then with Issei went to the living room where they met a big old who appeared to be waiting for them. When all of them sat down with Issei trying to hide behind his mother, the old man noticed this and said in a grandfatherly voice, Now young one, no need to be scared of me, I wouldn't harm you outside of training, that is." Mickey noticed he didn't calm down. "Now Issei, let me introduce the master of this dojo, Hayato Furinji, my father." This calmed down Issei a little, looked at the old man and said, "Are you really my grandfather?" "Yes, I am here, have a sweet," Hayato said as he gave his grandson a sweet, then spoke again. "Now do you know why you are here?" "Yes, to train so I can get used powers and weapons that I got from the 7 deadly sins," Issei replied. "My, you what a smart little boy, have another piece of candy," said the old man, "but do you know here?" When Issei shook his head, Mickey said, "There are a couple of reasons, but the main one is I trust nobody more than my father." Flashback, there was only one place that trusted, so she went to the phone and rung someone. After it rings a couple of times someone answered in an old voice. "Hello, how may I help you?" Mickey, who was nervous, took a deep breath then said, "Hello, my name is Mickey and I need your help, father." "Now this is a surprise, how are you doing, Mickey?" Hayato said in a joyful and surprised tone. "I have been good considering," Mickey said in a downcast tone. When she said that in the tone, she hoped that he didn't catch the tone. "What happened?" said Hayato as he had catch the tone she had used. "You was right, Dad," was all she said, and he knew what had happened. "Goru was a bastard, he left us 4 years with a younger woman. And we are not doing well financial wise either, as he left us with no money." "Then why haven't you called and asked for some money, and what is this wee stuff?" asked Hayato. "Well, that is the reason I had phoned you. You see, I have a 5-year-old son and he had recently came into something that I will not go into over the phone, so I phoned you to let you know that I am dropping round," Mickey explained. "Okay, see you in a bit, sweetie," Hayato said and the hang up. "So, what are you doing, Mickey?" asked Office. "I am going to see my father and ask if he could train Issei," Mickey told Office. "Do you mind if I tag along?" Office asked. "I don't mind," Mickey said. About an hour later Mickey was in front of her childhood home, the Ryozanpaka. She took a deep breath then entered, then went to the main room where there was 6 people waiting. Hayato said, "Ah Mickey, it is so nice to see you again." "Same as well, and to all of you as well," Mickey said. "Now then, let's get down to business, shall we?" After getting a nod from the 6 masters she explained everything that Meliodas told her. "And that is why I need the 6 of you to train my son." "We will do it. But you hadn't answered my question, why hadn't you called and let me know about you problems?" Hayato asked. Mickey looked unsure about the answer. "I don't know, my best guess might be I didn't want to hear I told you so, or might be I felt like I let you down somehow." Then looked down ashamed. "Do you mind giving us a little privacy?" Hayato asked. The other masters who all got up and left then moved in front of Mickey and gently grabbed and lifted up. So they was looking into each other's eyes then said, "Honey, you haven't let me down. It is true that I tried to warn you, but you stuck to your guns and told me where to go just like your mother did, and remember this, no matter what happens I will always be proud of you." That was all that was need to be said before Mickey lunched herself into the loving brace of her father and cried after 20 minutes before Mickey calmed down and got the other masters talked about a plan as long as they don't wake him up at an ungodly hour, so any time before 6:30 and in bed at a reasonable time, so no later than 8:30, and have the weekend off to be a kid. All was good that is until his teenage years. Then there was a bit of small talk. Office was introduced and so was Al. Of the masters. End of flashback. So now you know that your mother know that this place is the best chance for you. And we will not start you training till Monday so we can see what we are dealing with. How does that sound? Hayato said. Sounds good to me, Grandpa, said an excited Issei. A few hours later, Issei and Mickey said their goodbyes so Issei can get ready to train. The harem is as follows: Rias, Akeno, Kaneko, Kuroka, Zenobia, Asia, Irina, Rosweiss, Grafia. Ch 1 of 9. Next, Chapter 2. I do not own high school DxD. Issei will have his harem and then some list will be at the bottom. We'll have some characters from other anime but only if I find it appreciate. Issei will have some of the personality of the sins like Meliodas being carefree and a little pervert ban arrogance. Normal talking, spirit, animal talking, sentient sacred gears. Techniques. It has been 10 years since Issei and Office started to train at the Ryozanpaka dojo. Now normally he would be training but he is packing along with Office as they are moving back into his mother. As per the arrangement he still has brown hair, but since the day he saved Office his eyes have been changing colors by the day from green, purple, red, brownish orange, amber, gold, and blue. No one know just why. That is not even a kisame and he is known as the medic demon. Out at the main gate Issei was putting the cases into a pulling cart with the masters of the Ryozanpaka dojo. Once everything was packed in a cart, Hayato then went up to Issei and said, "Now be good to your mother, you hear, and also make sure to keep up with your." "Are you kidding me, Grandpa? I still want to try and beat you and everyone else without them holding anything back and win fair and square," Issei says then in a joking voice. "If anything I will increase the intensity," which got a laugh from most of the masters. Then walks up to the other masters to say his goodbyes. He first walks up to the first one, which was a kisame, and says, "Thanks the schooling and the lessons on jujitsu and in medics. It was a pleasure teaching you," came a kisame reply. Then they shook hands. Then Issei walks up to the apachai then says, "Thanks for the lesson in Muay Thai, apachai." Before he could get away, apachai brought him into a hug, crying and mumbling, "Apachai is going, Miss Issei. What will Apachai do now?" Issei says to Apachai, "Can you please put me down? Don't worry, you can come and visit as long as you let me know first, and I will be coming back as I will need to test my strength out and to see you guys." Then walks up to the Kensai then says, "Thanks for the lesson in Kenpo, Kensai." Kensai then replies, "Not a problem. As you ever get a girlfriend let me know first, okay? Like hell I will. You will probably be the reason she dumps me." Issei the shouts, swinging Korek House trying to hit him but he got away. A perfect example why they call him Kensai the Slick. After he calms down he walks over to Shigur and says, "You were the biggest help there was as you helped he master the weapons I got from the 7 deadly sins." Shigur then said, "It was no problem." Then did something that shocked everyone and irritated Office, and that was she kissed him on the lips. Once she realized what she was doing she cut the kiss then jumped over the wall while blushing. Issei, not knowing what to do, said, "Well, that just happened. Can someone please let Shigur know that I will be back next weekend so we can talk?" I get a nod from everyone then walk up to Shio. "Thanks all those karate lessons, Shio." "No problem, kid." Then shook hands. Then Issei started to walk to the cart. He grabbed the rope and said, "See you next weekend." Then turned to Office and asked, "You ready to go?" Which nods. Then Issei pulls the cart. A couple hours later the duo was back at Issei's home. He knocked, and Mickey answered the door to see who it was. When she saw it was Issei she flung the door open and pulled him into a hug, then went to Office and gave her a hug, then went to help the teens empty the cart. Once the cart was empty the trio sat in the living room and had small chat like how they have been. What's now, which involved a bit of teasing Issei when Office told Mickey what Shigur did, and both of them will starting school on Monday. The weekend passed with nothing happening apart from Issei and Office sorting out their rooms, and on Monday Issei and Office got dressed in their school uniform and went to school. When they got to school, they asked a girl with crimson hair where the office was. When the girl gave them the directions to the office, they said thanks then went up. Just when they were out of sight, the crimson-haired girl, "Hey Rias," looked and saw her friend. "Hey Akeno, do you know who those 2 people was?" Rias asked. "Sorry but I don't know, but there was a rumor going around last week about we are getting 2 transfer students. So I guess that was them," Akeno said, then in a teasing voice says, "Why did the Crimson Princess find the boy cute?" "No, just curious, as both of them don't seem normal, so I will try and get Sona to find out what," came Ria's reply. Back with Issei and Office, who was heading to the office when Issei says, "So that is Sirzek's little sister, she seems nice, what do you think, Office?" "I think you are a pervert," Office replied. "Well, that may be true. But you know the two to blame," Issei joked. "Yes, but one of them I can't kill without killing you, and the other one is a little weasel," Office says in an irritated tone, as all the time she's tried and killed Kensai Ma for peeking on her. "That may be true, but at least there was never a dull moment at Ryozanpaka, so imagine what would happen as we took Rias and her peerage to see Grandpa," Issei said before laughing and gaining a chuckle from Office. When they made it to the office, they got their schedules and found they had the same classes. On the way out, Issei accidentally walked into someone. When he looked up, he saw a girl with white hair, then says, "I am so sorry, what is your name?" "My name is Kaneko Taju, and it is all right, as part of it is my fault for carrying too much." "And who are the both of you?" said Kaneko. "My name is Issei Hyodo, and this here is Office Ouroboros," he says while pointing at Office. "Here, let me help you." And both Issei and Office helps the girl pick up the papers, then take the to the old school building. Once inside, they placed the paperwork on the desk, then headed to homeroom. When the bell for homeroom went, Issei and Office waited outside till being called in. They heard the teacher say, "Now class, before we begin, we have 2 new transfer students joining us from today, so please make them feel welcome. You can come in now." The teacher then waits until both had stopped and faced the class before continuing, "Now class, these 2 here are Issei and Office." The teacher then looks at the duo and says, "Why don't you 2 introduce yourself?" Issei went first and said, "Hey, my name is Issei Hyodo, and for the last 10 years I had been home-schooled because of reasons I will not tell." Once Issei was done, Office went next by saying, "Greetings, I am Office Ouroboros. I look forward to this class." The day till lunch was mostly uneventful due to Matsuda and Motohama, or more commonly known as the perverted duo, tried and get date out of her but got turned down when the door opened, only to revile Kaneko. She saw Issei and Office, then walked up to them and asked, "Do you mind joining me for lunch?" which surprised everyone. "Sure. I don't mind. What about you, Office?" Issei says. "I don't mind either," Office replied, then said, "As it is a nice day, let's eat outside," who both agreed. Then Kaneko then led them to her favorite spot, which was just outside the old school building. Meanwhile, inside the building we find Rias playing chess. Sona, when Rias asked, "So Sona, what have you hind out about the 2 new transfers?" "Well, the girl was quite easy, she is the Ouroboros dragon." Office. "But the boy was quite hard. All I could find on him was his name and where he lives, so I send word home, and Lust received word that because he is such an unknown he could be a problem one day, so they want us to take him out as soon as possible. Shame, as he is quite cute, and that it seems Kaneko has taken a liking to them, so might as well get him here after school," Rias said. She then went down to the trio. Once she was there, she asked, "Hey Issei, right?" Gaining a nod. "Do you mind coming over after? I want to ask you something." "Sure. I don't mind," Issei replied. "But what about Office?" "Bring her along as well," Rias replied, then looked at Kaneko, then said, "We have a meeting now." "Okay, see you 2 later." Kaneko then walks into the building. Once Rias saw all of her peerages come, she say, "We have a new target." "Really, who is it?" asked a blonde. "Well, that is the sad part, Kiba, as it is Issei and Office," replied Rias. "What, why is Issei B and Office being attacked?" demanded Kaneko, which got everyone surprised. "It is because Office is the Ouroboros dragon, and the rumor is that she started the terrorist group known as the Chaos Brigade, and as for Issei, the underworld doesn't know anything about him, but they can tell that he is strong, so he doesn't become a threat. They want us to take him out. I am sorry, but we have to do this, Kaneko," Rias said. The rest of the school day was also uneventful, so Issei and Office was heading towards the old school building when all of a sudden lightning strikes. But it just missed them, then heard, "Oh darn, and I was so close to." They looked and saw Akeno. "So is this some kind of initiation test to get into you club, or do you want kill us? Because I am hoping it is the former and not the latter," Issei says. Then Office smacks him and says, "You moron, you cannot die." But before he could say anything, he was punched. He looked and saw it was Kaneko, and she had a look that said, "I don't want to do this," and quickly dodged another. Lightning struck from Akeno and was about to get hit square on by a big fireball that was crimson and black. And he quickly grabbed a large twig that was then said, "Full counter," and swing the twig, which caused the Ball to do a 180 and doubled in size, starting to head back to Rias, but before it Issei got to her and picked her up bridal style and dropped her a few feet away from the explosion, then went but dodge a punch by Kaneko, grabbed her waist, then throw her onto Rias. Before he could do anything else his heart was run thought with a sword, and him being some kind of joker played dead. He could see Office was not fazed by him getting stabbed and Kaneko crying and being comforted by Rias. Once the sword was removed he played dead a little longer. It was when Akano and Kiba was moving towards Office when he sat up and asked, "So any reason why you are trying to kill me? Because I do believe that we met today, so I am drawing up a blank as to why, unless you are some of the family members of some of the devils that I had slain or nobles that had lost their noble status. How do you know what we are and how are you still alive?" Akano asked, whole shocked that Issei was still alive after. "Simple, helped my masters do a few jobs for all the faction, and as for me being alive, that is really simple," replied Issei. "And what is that?" Kiba asked. "A secret," Issei replied before continuing, "Can we go home now? My mom might start to worry about B." Before anyone could objected, he took off his shirt and walked to pick up his bag, then walk over to Kaneko and said, "I don't hold this against you," then patted her on her head. Then turned to Office and asked, "You ready?" Which got a nod, then started to walk out of the school when he stopped and turned and held something and said, "Because you tried to kill me, I will be keeping these as compensation." And what he was holding up was 3 pairs of underwear. One was a red-laced pair, the second one was black thongs, and the last one was plain white that had little cats' faces and paws on it, which got a blush from Rias. Akano and Kaneko then headed home. Meanwhile, back with Rias and her group, everybody was in shock that Issei wasn't even fazed that they had tried and kill him. Then not too far from them a crimson magic circle and a male came, though it then the male said, "Guess I'm too late," which got the attention of everyone. "Hi brother, what do you mean you're too late?" Rias asked. "Well, I came to tell you that kill order on one Issei Hyodo was not put through the proper channels," replied Rias' brother. Kaneko stepped forward then asked, "Wait, Sirzex, you mean to tell me?" I mean is that someone want to get rid of Issei." "To put it simply, yes," Sirzex replied before continuing. "You see, Issei is not your ordinary boy. He has been training for the past 10 years by some very capable humans who we asked to do some hunter work for us, and as so they have immunity from the factions to some extent, but they have some condition, one of which they do not take a life if an innocent or if their actions are just and noble, and so they were bound to make some enemies. Now I am also here to give him his first solo mission that did not require him to tag along with his masters." Then he summoned a magic circle and disappeared. Rias looked at her peerage and, "Well, I don't know about you, but I am going to go to Issei's house and apologies and also see if I can get my panties back," which gained a nod from Kaneko and Akano. Kiba said, "Okay, think I will apologies tomorrow, as I did stab him in the heart, so I will see you later," then went home while the girls went to the Hyodo residence. When they see Sirzex leaving, he waved then summoned another circle to go home. Then the girls knocked on the door. They were met with Issei's mother. When she saw who it was, she said, "Hello, and how may I help you?" Rias replied, "We are here to see Issei and Office. There was a misunderstanding at school, and we came to apologies for it." "Oh, so you are the ones that tried to kill my son and his little one of his girlfriends, and my name is Mickey?" asked Mickey. With a head hung low, Kaneko replied, "Yes, that would be us plus one more, but B stayed behind and will apologies tomorrow. He is in the garden after he has done what he need to do. You 3 will tell me which of the factions you belong to, and I will get Issei to tell you a little about him. Deal?" With that said, Mickey showed the girls, who was in shock as to how Issei's mother know they wasn't human, to the garden. When they got to the garden, they saw Issei already had company of 3 males, and to females. One of the males had silver hair and blue eyes and wearing a green V-shirt with a high-collar leather jacket and burgundy jeans. The second one had blonde hair with a strand going across his face and blue eyes and was wearing a business suit, and the last male had brown hair and brown eyes and was wearing ancient Chinese armor. One of the females had blonde hair and blue eyes and was wearing a sorceress-like dress with huge blue hat that had black bow and yellow stars and a matching cape with flowers and a white interior. The last female they know all too well had black hair and hazel gold eyes and was wearing a black kimono with a red interior with a yellow obi and a set of golden beads and a headband. This was Kuroka. Thinking that Issei was in trouble, the girls rushed out to help Issei and started to fight the group of 5. This went on for a couple of minutes before Issei had enough and shouted, "Enough. But the fighting didn't stop, so he turned to Ophis and asked, so which way would be better to stop the fighting? Perfect cube. Physical hunt or manipulate the earth? Before Ophis could say anything, someone said, I think you should use physical hunt, Issei. They looked to see his mother with 10 glasses of milkshake, and I have always wanted to see that in action since Meliodas told me about it, and Ophis agreed. Okay, one physical hunt coming up, Issei said as he get closer to the fighting, and when he was closer, he put one arm out and said, physical hunt. Then all the fighters all collapsed at the same time as Issei's muscles grow. Kuroka, who was pissed, shouted, Valley, you bastard, if you are going to use divine divide, you fucking don't use it on your allies. The blonde male said, I don't think that it was Valley Kuroka, because in order to use divine divide he needs to touch someone, so it must be someone else. You got that right, Issei said. Now I am going to conduct my business, then I will return your strength, then I will explain everything. Then walked over to Kuroka, then placed his hands on her head, then a strand of pale blue light came out and then Kuroka stopped. Inside Kuroka's mind we find Issei looking through Kuroka's memories in order to find out why she did, and when he did, he understood why she killed her master, then he exited her mind. In the real world the light coming out of Issei's hands disappeared, then everyone had got their strength back, then everyone sat up, then Issei said, now that you have your strength back, are you going listen or am I going to have to take it away again? Rias said, okay UWN, okay then have a seat and I will explain why Kuroka is here, Issei began. Flashback 10 minutes ago, Issei was in the garden with Ophis when a red circle appeared followed by Circex, who said, Hiya Issei, and to you to Ophis. First of all, I just wanted to apologize for the misunderstanding with my sister. The order to kill you was not properly ordered, and secondly I want you to do a mission, and before you say anything I got permission from your grandfather. Okay, I will do it. What do I have to do? Issei said. I want you to find out and eliminate Kuroka, Circex asks. That's fine, but you know Circex that if there was a good reason why she did it, Issei will not do it, Ophis stated. Yes, I am aware of that, Circex replied, then hand Issei a piece of paper with a summoning circle. Now after you find you why she did what she did or kill her, use the summoning circle. Then Circex went out of the front door while Issei was preforming a summoning spell of his own to summon Kuroka, but he got 5 people included Kuroka. He started to explain when Rias, Akeno and Kaneko interrupted. End of flashback. Now there you have it, Issei said. You are now free as long as you don't do anything stupid. Kuroka. Wait, what do you mean she is now free? She killed her master, Rias said. Just as I said, she is free as I will place her under my protection, Issei stated before continuing. And do you even know why she killed her master in the first place? I am sure you believe it was because she became drunk on her own power, but that is a lie. She did it to protect her only family she had left, as her asshole of a master was planning to do some test on her younger sister, shocking everyone but mostly Kaneko. So, you put me through hell because you killed your master in order to protect me? Kaneko asked. Kuroka, who couldn't look Kaneko in the eyes, said, it was never my intention for that to happen to you. I didn't think that my crime will be placed onto you and that will be a regret, but how did you know why I did what I did? Simple, I looked through your memories and before you asked I only looked at the necessary memories, Issei said before continuing, and one of my magical ability known as invasion, and it allow me to enter someone's mind, and if I wanted to I can manipulate someone memories and soul. Then took out the summoning circle to summon whoever was on the other end, which turned out to be Graphia, who walked up to Issei and gave him a kiss on the lips which shocked the girls. When Graphia looked and saw Kuroka alive, then said, so what did you find out? After a couple of minutes of explaining, when he was done, Graphia said, and so you plan on placing Kuroka under your protection? Which got a nod. Okay, then I will go and report back to Circex then. Then she summoned a circle, then went back home to report. Rias, who was the first one out of being shocked, asked, what was that all about and why did Graphia kiss you? Okay, I will tell you everything if you give me a chance, Issei said. The harem is as follows: Rias, Akeno, Kaneko, Kuroka, Zenobia, Asia, Irina, Rosweiss, Graphia. Previous ch2 of 9. Next, Issei will have his harem and then some list will be at the bottom. We'll have some characters from other anime, but only if I find it appreciate. Issei will have some of the personality of the sins like Meliodas being carefree and a little pervert ban arrogance. Normal talking, spirit, animal talking, sentient sacred gears. Techniques, Issei had lead Rias, Akeno, Kiba, Kaneko, and the group that he had summoned to the lounge, and everyone had taken a seat. Then Issei said, Okay, what would you like to know first? Before anyone could say anything, Kaneko said, "How did you do all that stuff at school and just now, and do you have any other abilities?" Issei looked like he had to think of how to explain it before saying, "The stuff I was able to do is because of something that had happened 10 years after an incident when I met Ophis. I almost ended up killed by some devils, but I ended up meeting the 7 deadly sins that were in my soul, and Meliodas with my permission took over my body and killed the devils, took me home, brought Ophis with him, and as for other abilities I have that will be a surprises for later date," which got a cute little pout from Kaneko and Kuroka. Before anyone could ask, Rias said, "What was all that with Graphia? As up until a few years ago I know her as a sister-in-law, then my brother announced that Graphia was not his wife, it was a ploy as his real wife was sick. The Gremory elders who hate anything that might make the Gremory look weak, they were furious when they done a little digging around and found out that she was too weak for their standard. They tried and split them apart, but Sirzex put a stop to it by getting the only group of humans that even we devils are afraid of involved, and that is the masters of Ryozanpaka." Issei, not looking shocked about the whole splitting up Sirzex and Suzuka, said, "Why am I not surprised about the old morons butting in about the whole affair about with Lisbeth?" With that comment everyone but Ophis and Mickey surprised the later two know that he knows a lot about the supernatural world and was friends with some of the big-time names. Issei began again. "Anyway, it was my first mission that my masters let me go unsupervised." Flashback: Issei is 13 and Ophis looking 13 and they are in the Ryozanpaka dojo. It was about noon and he was learning with a Kisame when Apachai came to in. A Kisame saw Apachai, turned and said, "Hello Apachai, how may I help you?" "Old man Hayato sent Apachai to get Issei," replied Apachai. "Well, as Hayato wants him," said a Kisame before turning to Issei and says, "Issei, your grandfather wants you, so go with Apachai to him." "Okay master," said Issei. The follows Apachai to the office where he was talking to a couple of elderly man. Hayato said, "Okay, so you are giving us a simple elimination mission." One of the elderly men said, "Yes, this is your target." Then hand Hayato a picture of pink hair and red eyes. "Her name is Lisbeth and we have received word that she is in Paris's." "Okay, you know our fee and you accept the conditions," said the Grand Master of Ryozanpaka. Getting irritated, the second man said as he summoned a bag of money and put it on the desk, Yes, we know, cash up front and no refunds. Are we finished?" Hayato, looking over the contract, said, "Yes, I do believe we are." The two men summoned a magic circle and disappeared. The Hayato turned his attention to his grandson, then said, "Ah Issei, so glad you could make it. I am sure you know that there is a mission." "Yes, I just got here when you said about the aspect of the mission, so who will I be accompanying on this mission?" replied Issei. "Good, but you misunderstand. It is you that will be taking the mission with a master as a backup should thing get out of your control. The mission you accompanied before was to teach you about the type of dangers we can encounter, which was why we had you on the sidelines for the past 3 years, said Hayato. "Okay, I think I get it. So basically all the missions I went on before was to teach me how to hunt and to deal with the ins and outs of the missions, correct?" said Issei. "That is correct Issei, and as I have said, you a master will accompany you to give you advice and handle anything that might be too much for you to handle," said Hayato. Issei, understanding the reasons behind it, said to his grandfather, "Okay, I understand why I went on the missions now, so will be my master tagging along, and when do we leave?" "The master that will be shadowing you will be Sakari and you leave in 10 minutes, okay?" Hayato said, asked. Issei, not sure whether or not if it was a question, said, that is fine. Then went to get Sakari only to find him waiting. "Okay kid, let's go, you have 5 minutes to get what you need, then you are in charge," Sakari said. "Okay master, be right back," Issei said before leaving to say bye to Ophis and to get a few pairs of clothes. 5 minutes later both Issei and Sakari was both at the gate saying the last of the byes. The Issei used a teleportation spell to take them to Paris. Once they arrived, Issei looked at his master and said, "Do you know who is in charge of Paris and where to find them?" Sakari took up a thinking post and thought for a couple of minutes and said, "I do believe I do, and if I remember, his is a human that goes by the name of Wang Fu, but he is more commonly as known by Master Fu, as he is a guardian of some unique jewelry, but only a handful of people know about them, and he lives this way." Then Sakari then leads Issei to where Master Fu is. After about an hour walking they come to a Fu's massage shop and it was closed, so Issei knocked the elderly man wearing a red Hawaiian shirt with a white hibiscus flower pattern and tan capri pants. Then the old man said, Hello, how may I help you? If it is for a massage, please come back when we are open and book an appointment. Issei said, we are not here for a massage, we came here to talk to you, so may we come in? Master Fu looked around and saw Sakari, then know what is happening. Oh, of course, please come in. Then he leads them to his living room, then offers them a drink. I am Wang Fu, but please call me Master Fu, and would either of you two like some tea before we begin? Issei said, please and thank you Master Fu. Sakari said, no thanks, got any beer? Master Fu looks at Sakari and said in a polite tone, no I do not, as I am a healer that uses natural herbs. You should know that Sakari, even if it has been a long time since we have seen each other, then goes off to make the 3 cups of tea. When he come back he bring a tray with 3 cups, 2 pouring jugs, one contains milk and the other one contains cream, a bowl of sugar and a teapot. He places it on the table, then goes to the other side of the table. The says, now Sakari, what bring the Dan Street brawler here to Paris? I doubt it is to find love. Well old man, we are here on a mission and I am here to shadow young Issei here, so we need permission from you, so we don't cause many problems for you. Of course you have my permission, but please don't cause too much trouble so people won't mistake you for an Akuma. We, Master Fu said, and was about to show the 2 males out when a nearby box started to move as if something was trying to get out. Issei looked at the box with wonder while Master Fu was worried as he know that was in the box and went to grab it when it got close to the edge. When the box didn't moving, Master Fu decided to open it in order to see what was moving and found out it was a necklace that looked like a tail-like pendant. Issei, who couldn't contain his curiosity, asked, hey Master Fu, what was with the moving box? Master Fu, seeing that there was no way he could get away with lying to them as Sakari was a master for a reason, he took a deep breath then said, this box is the miracle box and inside it contains jewels known as miraculous and they are worn as jewelry and they have the ability to change the wearers with the help of kwamis into animal-themed super-powered beings, but for one to move on it own it is unheard of. Cool, so what are kwamis? Issei asked. Well, a part of the ability to help people transform. They are divine sprite-like beings who embody abstract concepts and have an animal-like appearance, like we have a ladybug with the power of creation and the black cat with the power of destruction, Master Fu answered. Okay, so which of us one is the moving then? Sakari said, getting annoyed. That is the necklace of the fox, Master Fu answered, and that is the fox with the power of illusions. After a couple minutes, Issei suddenly thought the turn to Master Fu and said, hey master, this might be a long shot, but I think that the kwami might be reacting to one of my sins. Slightly alarmed to what the boy said, Master Fu said in a threatening tone, what did you do? Issei, taken aback by the tone that Master Fu had used, then remembered something, then said, oh right, I forgot that you don't know. Well, in a completely different universe there are 5 races and each and every one has a magical ability. There was a group of 7, each of a different race was the most powerful. They were respected and at the same time feared. They were branded with an animal because of a crime that they had done or had supposed to done. You had Meliodas the dragon, sin of wrath, Diane the serpent, sin of envy, King the grizzly, sin of sloth, Gauthar the goat, sin of lust, Merlin the boar, sin of gluttony, Escanor the lion, sin of pride, and you have Ban the fox, sin of greed. Mind if I skip the boring stuff. About 8 years ago I got into some trouble and found out that all 7 of them lives in me and they gave me everything they had from power to their titles. Master Fu calmed down after hearing Issei's explanation and said, oh, so when you say sin you mean your title, not the actual essence. That's right, sorry if I made you weary of me, Issei said. After some serious thought, Master Fu opened the miracle box, then gave Issei the fox miraculous in its box, then said, then it is decided you shall be the wearer of the fox miraculous, and if I should pass I shall get my successor to let you know, and you both shall stay here until your mission is done. Both taken back by the sudden generosity of the old man, Issei said, are you sure about this? We don't want to intrude in your home and business. I am sure, and I can teach you all about the kwamis and the miraculouses, and I drought you have a place to sleep, Master Fu said. Sakari rubbed the back of this neck and said, you are right about that. Okay, we will take you up on your offer. And with that done, Issei took the box, they opened it, then there was a ball of golden light came out of the tail pendant, then it circled around Issei twice, then done 2 more little circles, then the light died down to reveal a floating fox with purple eyes, then said, my name is Trix and I'm your kwami. Nice to meet you Trix, my name is Issei, said as he put a finger out for the kwami to shake the went to put the necklace on. "Okay, time for bed," Master Fu said, then showed the duo where they will be sleeping. Just when Master Fu showed them and gave them his spear blankets and pillows, there was a knock on the door. When Master Fu said, "It's open." When it opened, it revealed a girl about Issei's age with blue hair and blue eyes, and she was as her pajamas by a red kwami that resembled a ladybug. The girl said, "Hello Master Fu." Master Fu said, "Hello Marinette." Then a flouting jade turtle just appeared, said, "Marinette, but you're not supposed to come to Master Fu's place." Master Fu put up a hand and said, "Let her talk ways." Marinette looked at Master Fu, then said, "Master, I used my lucky charm, but strangely I think it was a hint which was telling me to come here in a way." Master Fu said, "I see Marinette taught you all about the miraculous and their powers in order. Yours works in a mysterious way. I think it's trying to tell us you need help this time." He went to grab the miracle box but was hesitant, then going on to say, "I don't know if it is safe. I already took an enormous risk by putting 2 miraculous into circulation." Marinette, trying to encourage him to it, said, "And you were right to do it. Chat Noir and I are very careful." Gaining the courage to do it, he goes and gets the miracle box, places it in front of her. He opens the lid, then 12 draws open on its own while saying, "Pick an ally you can trust to fight alongside you on this mission. Choose wisely. Such power are meant to serve the greater good. They must never get into the wrong hands." Marinette said, "Like hawkmoths." Master Fu then said, "Yes, once the mission is over you must retrieve the miraculous from them, then bring it back to me until we have unlocked all the secrets of the spell book. It's too dangerous to allow any more miraculous out in the open for very long." Marinette looked deep in thought while staring at the miraculous that is in the miracle box, then said, "Is there anyone you can think of, Marinette?" Marinette went to grab the comb, then said, "Unfortunately Master, what we need is the power of illusion." "Oh, okay, then let me get Issei then." The old man went into the back. A couple of minutes later he returned, followed by Issei. Then the old man turned to the boy and said, "Now Issei, I know that I was going to teach you tomorrow. Unfortunately there have been a change in plan. You see, Marinette here needs you help, so can you give them a hand?" Without a moment of hesitation Issei said, "How can I help?" "Marinette is going to have to tell you as you go, as there is no time," Master Fu said. Marinette said, "Okay Issei, right, my name is Marinette, but when I am in costume, I am Ladybug." "Okay. That's right, my name is Issei and it is nice to meet you." To Marinette, "Now that the small talk is over, can we get going?" Issei said. "Oh, right, come on, let's go," Marinette said, then walks out the door with Issei following. Once outside, both quickly run into an alleyway. Then Marinette said, "Tiki spots on." Then the red kwami was then sucked into her earring. Then there was a flash of light, and once it died down, Marinette was wearing a red spandex with black dot, with a red mask with black dot and a yo-yo on the waist, and it reminded Issei of a ladybug. The remembered what Master Fu told him. Tricks, sensing what needs to be done, flow out of wherever he was hiding up to his face and said, "You just need to say one thing, Tricks, let's pounce." Issei then said, "Tricks, let's pounce," and the fox kwami was then sucked into the tail-like pendant on the necklace. Then there was a flash of light, and once the light died down, Issei now stood in an orange spandex with a white underbelly, and from his feet to his knees and hand to his elbows were black. He also has a tail with a white tip. His mask was 2 colors, the top part was orange and the bottom was white. He also had orange ears with black tips and white inside, and a flute on his back. "Okay, now then, first we need is to find Aaliyah, as we are dealing with her twin little sisters, and I will tell you more about you powers along the way," Ladybug said as she grabbed her yo-yo, flung it to a building, then pulled herself onto the roof with Issei jumping behind her. After follow Ladybug for 5 minutes, they came to a park with a Martiniquan Creole French girl with tanned skin shouting, persuading 6 red little demons wearing kids' hats who was on a merry-go-round. "Listen. We can renegotiate the amusement park idea if you want. "'Kay, but first I need you to chill out and come back home with me." Then Ladybug jumped front of the girl, then grabbed her yo-yo, swung it round one of the pole, then yanked it to make the merry-go-round stop abruptly, causing all 6 of the demon-like being fly of the Ladybug used her yo-yo to break the hats, and all 6 red creatures disappeared. Then the girl with tan skin said, "Ladybug, my sisters have been akumatized. I need to find them and bring them back home." Ladybug turning to the girl and said, "There is a way for you to find your sisters, Aaliyah. But we need your help. You interested? Me help you superheroes? You bet I am. Just wait till I tell Marinette about this," said Aaliyah as she go to grabs her phone. Ladybug quickly places a hand on the phone and says, "Hang on now, this has to be a secret, not a word to your friends or on the lady blog." Taken aback by the sudden request, Aaliyah said, "Oh right, understood." "Okay now, oh right, I didn't ask or give you a name," Ladybug said to Issei. "Oh you are right, I don't have a name," Issei said, who took few minutes to think of a name. "I have got it, call me Ban." "Really, is that the best you can come up with?" said a disappointed Aaliyah. "How about I tell you why I think it is a good name while we follow Ladybug," said Ban. "Okay," said Aaliyah. Then Ban gets down on one knee and put his back to Aaliyah and says, "Okay Aaliyah, hop on." And once he has Aaliyah secured on his back, he turned to the girl in red then said, "Okay Red, ready when you are." Then Ladybug used her yo-yo to get on top of the roof with Ban following behind her then said, "So do either of two know about the concept of the multiverse?" "Yes, the idea is that there are an infinite number of universes, some like our own and others are nothing like ours, but so far has been no proof that the concept is real," said Aaliyah. "Well, that concept is real, as inside my soul there are 7 beings that come from a different universe, and they come from a land where it is still the Middle Ages, but what they don't have in tech they make up for magic abilities." "Cool, so who are the 7 beings that are in your soul and what are these magical abilities?" said Ladybug. "They are the 7 of the most powerful people you will ever know. You have Meliodas the dragon, sin of wrath; Diane the serpent, sin of envy; King the grizzly, sin of sloth; Gauthar the goat, sin of lust; Merlin the boar, sin of gluttony; Escanor the lion, sin of pride; and you have Ban the fox, sin of greed, and they each have that animal somewhere on their bodies in crimson." Then he saw a blonde guy in a skin-tight leather suit designed and a black cat that said, "Hey Red, is that your partner?" Just as a bunch of the little red demons dog piled him in one seemed to get something. Ladybug said in an alarmed tone, "Yes, that's Chat Noir." Then thought the yo-yo around the dog piled Chat, then snapped the hats freeing him. Then she jumped down. Ban jumped at a different way to put Aaliyah in a safe location, then jumped in to join the fight and used his flute to break some of hats as well as his hands and feet, then said, "Cool, not the typical race I fight, but it is still cool," and took out the rest, the Sapides. As Chat Noir got up and saw that Ladybug had brought Compony, then said, "Cool, who is this superhero friend of yours? No offense, I thought I was the only one." Ladybug said, "Chat Noir, I would like you to meet Ban." Chat Noir then walked up to Ban and said, "Well, sneaky fox, think you'll be sneaky as a cat?" "I prefer greedy fox, thanks," said Ban as he rang Chat's bell. He turns to Ladybug and says, "Your friend seems pretty good." Ladybug then tells him, "I have only been friends with him for the past hour or so." Chat Noir was taken aback by the comment but shrugs it off. Put his hand out ad says, "Welcome to the team, if you need any superhero tips you know where to come." Ban, taking the hand gesture, said, "Yes to my master, and I am only here because I am on a mission and I ended up on here be complete coincidence, and once my mission is done, I am have to go back Japan, but as for the miraculous part, do you have Ladybug number?" "Oh, that is a shame because you might have been a lot of fun," replied Chat Noir. All of a sudden there was what looked like hundreds of them. Then Ladybug said, "We are retreating." The all 3 jumped on top of a nearby which happens to have Aaliyah on it. Chat Noir then said, "There must be thousands of them." Ladybug then shouted, "Lucky charm." Then throw her yo-yo up, then a unicycle came down and fell into Ladybug's hand. Chat said, "A unicycle?" Ladybug then starting to look around for how to use it. Then the chat continue, "Whenever you're ready, milady." Then he and Ban went and take out the Sapides that had got to the roof while Ladybug collected the stuff she needed. Once Ladybug was done, she placed it all in a wheelie bin. Then Ban grabbed Aaliyah as Chat used his pole as a bridge. Then the 3 superheroes run across it, and once on the other side Chat withdrew the pole. Once all the prep work was done, Ladybug went cycling around announcing an amusement park. Then Ban blow his flute and the tip began to glow. Then he flung it and said, "Mirage." That there was a really fun amusement park illusion. All the Sapides started running towards it. Then Aaliyah said, "Awesome." That there was a bleeping noise coming from Ban's pendant and said to Chat, "What does that mean?" "That mean you have about 5 minutes left before you change back," replied Chat. "Oh, is that all?" said Ban in a non-caring voice. The Ladybug drive the guide bike into an ally with all the Sapides following her. Then Chat jumped down and jammed the makeshift device in the wall so that as can take the hats. Then said, "Your turn, Ladybug." Then Ladybug made the device turn and it was catching the hat, then flinging them into the wheelie bin. Once all the hats was collected, the illusion faded. Then Chat said, cataclysm, and destroyed the bin along with the hats, which in turn caused all the sapities but 2 to disappear, and the last 2 turned back into human, and a black butterfly came out of the pile of ash. Then Ladybug did something with her yo-yo and caught the butterfly while saying, "No more evil doing for you little Akuma, time to devilized. Got ya. Bye bye little butterfly." She threw part of the unicycle, then everything went back to normal. The 3 heroes plus Aaliyah went to the twins, then Aaliyah run up to them and gave each of them a big hug. Went to walk home with Chat following to make sure they get home safely, and they didn't get far when last of the light in Issei's necklace and the transformation dropped, and Marinette's as well, and Marinette sees the crimson animals that then said, "You know you are not supposed to tell people anything about anything that can identify you in civilian form, right? And what if people figure out who I am?" Issei said. "Well, for starters they can go after you friends and family," Marinette said. Issei said in a pride tone, "Not to be rude here Marinette, but the only people that would do that are people who have a death wish, as my only friend at the moment is a dragon. My family owns a dojo called Ryozanpaka, and if they do manage to capture me and have a mind-reading device or spell, they have the 7 deadly sins to deal with, so I am not worried." "Okay, look, I am meeting my friends tomorrow and I was wondering if you would like to join us," Marinette asked. "Sure. But only if it is okay." Issei said, "Okay, be ready at 9 okay." Marinette said just as they got to Marinette's home. Then Issei went back to Master Fu's place the next morning. Issei was waiting for Marinette when Sakari said, "I don't like this kid, we are on a mission, remember?" "Yes, I remember, but I was thinking that what as Marinette's friend had seen her, and I will be getting used to be making my way around Paris because I am sure that I will be coming back here, and next time it might not be with a master," Issei reasoned. "Okay, you got me there, so while you do that I will be doing my own investigation," Sakari said, then was about to talk out when there was a knock at the door. Sakari answered as and saw a girl with blue hair and eyes, then said, "Who are you, girl?" "Oh, my name is Marinette and I was wondering if Issei was still here," asked Marinette. Sakari smiled then shouted, "Hey Issei, your girlfriend's here. I sure hope when you say that you mean a girl who is a friend and not romantically involved." Issei said, walking out to meet Marinette, then go on to say, "Shall we go?" "Of course," Marinette said. Then she took Issei to the park from last night where she was going to meet her friends, then she introduced them, go to skip doing the introductions. Then the one named Alex said, "So where are you from?" Issei replied, "I am from Japan." "So why have you come to Paris's?" asked the one named Max. "I am here on business," Issei said, stretching a little but revealed a little bit of a crimson mark. Mylene spots it as asks, "Hey Issei, what that mark on your hip?" "Oh, this," and reveals it to be a crimson fox. "I have no idea, I have 6 others somewhere on my body. I like to think that it represents one of the 7 deadly sins, and that is the sin of greed, so I have named it the fox sin of greed," Issei said in a joking manner, but there was only 2 people who recognized that line. Aaliyah said to Marinette, "Mind if I borrow your now friend Mari?" but didn't give Marinette the chance to reply when she started to drag him away. Once they were out of sight, Aaliyah turned her attention to Issei and, "I know who you are Issei, or should I call you Ban?" "Issei will do, out of suit now. I did say that because I know you would have recognized it, and from what Marinette said you are one hell of a reporter. Now do you know how this lady is, as I have been sent here to make sure she isn't a threat?" Issei said. They showed her a picture of Lisbeth. "Yes, I know her, so does Marinette. She is a part-timer that works at Marinette's parents' bakery. Let me get her over here." Then texts Marinette to come over. When Marinette came over she said, "So Aaliyah, what is the problem?" And Aaliyah just give her the picture. Then before Marinette continues, "Why do you have a picture of Suzuka Issei?" "That is rather difficult to explain, but let's just say this is the business, so can you please take me to meet her?" Marinette agreed, then told the group that there was an emergency at home, then took Issei with her and wanting to be there for their friend, so Aaliyah, Nino and Adrian followed them to the bakery. Once Aaliyah, Nino and Adrian got the bakery, Tom let them up just as Issei started to talk. "Look Lisbeth, there is no other was to say it, but I am a student at Ryozanpaka." The moment he said that, she tried and get away from him, but in doing so revealed that she had a set of bat-like wing, but Issei just flouted over quickly, then put his hand over her temples. He went into her mind in order to see what she is up to, and found out that the 2 men was lying to them. So once he got out, he quickly used the most powerful healing spell he know to heal her, then placed her on the sofa, then starts to search her for something. The shouts to the door, "You 3 can come in now." "Okay, I know that she has started a few weeks back, but what is she?" asked Adrian. "Okay, you know all the myths and legends like the Greek Norse gods also angels, fallen angels and the devils, Issei said, which gain a nod from all four of them. Well, to simple put, they are all real and Lisbeth is a devil that my client wants me to eliminate, but at my home the Ryozanpaka we do not kill the innocent, we only kill those that warrant death. What you expect us to believe you that all the monsters that we thought was only myths are real? Nino asked. Is it really that strange that the myths are real when your city is attacked by akumas? After all, you two friends hold the yin and the yang kwamis, so they are destined to be together, Issei said absent-mindedly. All four of them said, "What?" Adrian said. So all this time the person I have been chasing after has been sitting behind me and liked. At the same time Marinette was saying, so all this time the person I have a crush on has been my partner. Issei saw that Nino and Aaliyah didn't seem surprised. They said, "Judging by your reactions you two either known or suspected." The Nino said, "Well, it is more of here than me, she just tells me some time, but how did you know straight away?" Magic is a powerful thing and it can slightly or drastically change our perspective, Issei explained. Then find what he is looking for, the activates it, then throws it on the floor, then sees a 20-something looking devil. Once the devil saw Lisbeth on the sofa and 5 early teens, then says, "Greeting. I am Graphia, and what happened here?" Issei walks up and says, "Greeting to you to Graphia, I am Issei, and as to what had happened, well, you have to promise not to attack me while I explain." "Okay. Okay, I promise not to attack you while you explain," Graphia said. "Okay, to put it simple, the four behind me just found. Put that the supernatural world exists, so and they have their own to solve, so they can go right, which gains." A nod from Graphia, so he tells the people behind him, "Okay, you four can go upstairs, as this is my mess, you don't need to get dragged into it, and you and Adrian can talk." Then the four got up and went upstairs. Then Issei continue, "Okay, I am from Ryozanpaka, was sent here to eliminate her, then met her, told her where is was from, she panicked, then used an ability I have only to find out that the clients lied to us, they healed her, then looked for the summoning circle that summoned you, so can you get her husband?" "Okay, I will be right back," said Graphia, the she disappeared in a white circle. Then Marinette and Adrian came down holding hands with Nino and Aaliyah following behind. The Issei said, "So are you two a couple now?" Graphia just went and get her husband. Then there was a red circle that revealed a red-haired dude and Graphia. "Hello, I am Sirzex, which one of you is Issei and why have you summoned me?" Sirzex asked. Issei stepped forward and said, "I am Issei, and the reason I have summoned you is because I want to know why 2 old men with red hair want your wife dead." Sirzex, taken by the request, said, "It might be because she is too weak to hold the Gremory name, but they shouldn't know that she is my wife." "How did you know that?" "So let me get this straight, you are letting a bunch of old dudes tell you who is right on who to marry. Then you don't deserve to be married to her. To me this looks like you are shamed that you love her," Issei said, causing the dude to look away shamed. "So here is what I am going to do. First I am going to tell you is to grow a backbone and a pair of balls, then go and tell your elder where they can shove some of the rules that give her," points to Lisbeth, "my number, and tell her that if you do something like this again is to give me a call. How does that sound?" "I think sound like a good idea." Then everyone spent the next half an hour saying goodbye. The Issei left to Master Fu place to let Sakari know that the clients have lied to them. Then he and Sakari left to head back home to tell Hayato what had happened. End of flashback in Harem. Graphia, Ophis, Shigur. Going to join Rias, Akano, Kaneko, Kuroka, Zenobia, Asia, Irina, Rosweiss. First, previous ch3 of 9. Next, Issei will have his harem and then some list will be at the bottom. We'll have some characters from other anime, but only if I find it appreciate. Issei will have some of the personality of the sins like Meliodas being carefree and a little pervert ban arrogance. Normal talking, spirit, animal talking, sentient sacred gears. Techniques. The group looked at Issei and Rias said in a non-believing tone, "So you have been all around the world and that you have a divine sprite like being in your pocket?" Issei then replied, "Yes I do, isn't the right tricks?" Then a ball of light came out of Issei's pocket that circled around everyone and Kuroka and Kaneko tried and play with it and it played with them. Then the ball of light stopped next to Issei. Then the light died, revealed Trix, who said, "Hi, I'm Trix and I'm a Kwami." Akano said, "Hi Trix, so if you are here the Issei's story is true." "You got that right," Trix said. "Okay, how about we talk about this in the tomorrow as it is late," Issei said, and everyone agreed. "So where can we meet?" Everyone began to think of a place before Rias said, "How about we meet in the clubhouse at the weekend?" After everyone agreed, then went on their merry way. The morning Issei is in the playground doing his morning training when he was about to leave and go to the clubroom and asked if he could use the shower when he bumped into someone. When he looked, he saw someone that looked like a nun with blonde hair, then said, "Hey, are you okay?" The blonde said, "Yes, I am fine, thank you." Issei then asked, "So what is a nun doing in Kuo town?" "Well, you see, I was just appointed to the church in this city, but unfortunately I got lost," said the blonde girl. As they two of them was about to leave the park, they heard crying. They looked and saw a boy who had scraped his knee. The girl run over and said to the boy, "A big boy shouldn't cry over a scrap, you will be fine." Then she put her hand together and there was a green glow and the scrap healed instantly. "You see, there isn't a reason for you to be crying at all." Then she looked at Issei and said, "All done now." As they was walking to the church, the girl said, "You must be surprised." "What about?" Issei asked. "My power," the girl replied. "Nah, my grandfather always says there is more to the world than meets the eye. You must be lucky to have a healing power," Issei said. The girl said, "Thank you, I consider it to be a gift and a blessing, truly it's wonderful." Once the duo got to a pathway, Issei looked at the girl and said, "Okay, all you have to do is follow that path and then you are at the church." The girl said, "Thank you for your help, my name is Asia Argento." "That's all right, and my name is Issei Hyodo, well see ya," Issei said. Then they went their separate ways. When Issei got to class, he said, "Sorry, there was a nun who got lost, and as I don't want to be punished by God, I help her find her way to the church." It is lunchtime. Issei was in the clubroom with all of Rias' peerage, and Rias looked at Issei and asked, "Issei, there is a rumor going around, is it true?" Issei looked at Rias and said, "That all depends on what the rumor is." Rias said, "The reason you was late this morning was because you helped a nun out." "That rumor is true," Issei replied. Rias just sighed and said, "Issei, you need to be careful, just setting foot in a church will create problems for both angel and devil alike." "And why do I need to be careful, Rias? After all, it's not like I'm not a devil and I am not a part of your peerage, so you cannot tell me what I can and cannot do," Issei said. Kaneko said, "You know, Rias, he does have a point." "I see your point," Rias sighed in defeat. Later that day, Issei was helping Rias with some paperwork. What Akeno came in and said, "Rias, we just received message from the Archduke." "The Archduke?" Rias asked. Akeno the said, was urgent. A stray devil has been causing trouble nearby." Rias then summons the rest of her peerage. Then Akeno summons a teleport circle and Issei decides to tag along. Once they appear near a warehouse, Akeno says, "According to the reports, this stray has been luring people into that abandoned warehouse and eating them, so tonight's job shouldn't be too hard, just find the beast and kill it." After spending some time searching, Kaneko said, "It's here." The moment Kaneko said that, there was a voice, "Now what could that foul smell be? Something smell delicious as well. I wonder if it tastes sweet or bitter." Then she came out behind a pillar without an modesty. Rias said, "Visor, you wretch, you betrayed you master and run away to fulfill your lustful wants and desires that have consumed you. Your sin are worthy of 1,000 hells. In the name of the great Marquis of Gremory, be gone or met your death." Visor looked at Rias annoyed, then said, "Oh, be quiet, you little slut, you have always had it in for me." She plays with her breasts while saying, "You're just jealous because your breasts will never be as luscious as mine. This is your final warning, return to your master now," Rias said. Visor then said, "What is I don't want to?" Then she showed her true self. Then magic circles appeared around her tits, then shot acid at everyone and all but Issei dodged, so Issei got hit. Rias saw this, then shouted, "Issei," but then she saw that Issei was unscathed, then said, "Kiba." Then Kiba disappeared, then reappeared in front of Visor, then cut her arms off. Then Kaneko walked up to Visor, but Visor's stomach revealed to be another mouth. Then she ate Kaneko. But the mouth didn't close as Kaneko was holding it open with most of her clothes melted. Then she said, "Catch you on the flip side." Then she punched Visor. Rias said, "Akeno." Akeno started walking and said, "Oh, is it my turn? How exciting, how I do love this game." One of Visor's arms started to twitch and then launched towards Rias. Issei saw this, then jumped to intercept it, but subconsciously activated his demonic power and set the arm on fire with black fire. Rias, being a little shocked at what just happened and the mark that was above his right eyes, then said, "Thank Issei." "No problem," Issei replied. "Akeno, finish her off please," Rias said. Akeno turned around and said, "I've got news for you, please. You're not the only one who likes to play rough here, so let's you and I have a bit of fun." Then lighting was being channeled between her hands. "Tough girl, not ready to give up yet? That's good, I get to play a bit more." Summoned a powerful thunderbolt. Rias then said, Akano, I believe she's had enough. Over already, I was just beginning to enjoy myself, replied Akano. Rias walked over to Visor and said, any last words before we finish this? Visor groaned before replying, go to hell. Alright, how about we got this over with then? Rias said before summoning a magic circle before saying, game over, and unleashing a red and black flame and obliterating Visor, then saying, we're done here, come on, let's go and do some jobs. Sounds good to me, replied everyone. Rias summoned a teleportation circle and took everyone to the clubroom. When everyone was walking out, Rias called Issei. Hey Issei. Do you mind taking a job from Kaneko? There seems to be a little mix-up, and was double booked. Issei thought for a moment and said, sure, I don't mind helping out you guys out, so what is the address I am needed at? Thanks. Issei, you really are a good person, but what was with that mark above your right eye? Rias asked and gave him to address of the clients. Issei looked at Rias then said, let's just say that I am so much more dangerous than you, devil, and far more powerful than the angels. Then with that Issei took his bike and went to the house. When he got there he knocked, and when there was no answer he tested the door only to find it open. He walked in and there was a strong smell of iron in the air, then mumbled, what the hell, and walked in with caution. Walked into the living room and saw blood and a couple brutally murdered. Punish the wicked, words to live by, said a voice. Issei looked over to the sofa and saw a man in an exorcist jacket. Yes, wise advice from a holy man. Then he looked at Issei with a crazed look on his face. So, where is his holy man? All I see is a punk that gets his rocks off by killing innocent humans, Issei retorted. Not liking that comment, the man got up and said, my name is Fried Selzen, at your service, and you, my friend, must be the scared little pussy whose devil ass that this priest is going to exorcise this fine evening. Issei looked at Fried unimpressed and said, oh, so you're a priest, but doesn't the church have rules about killing humans even if they have contracts with devils? But he summoned you, so he was done being human, so it was the end of the road, sinner, Fried said to Issei. So I had to chop him up into itty pieces. He then handed to his jacket while saying, putting down degenerate devils and the lost souls who cry out to them is my job. Then he a gun and a sword of light handle. And nobody is better at it than me. Then he activate the sword. Nice, you must be good as you have a light sword and a gun, Issei said, mildly impressed. Fried said, first I am going to cut you evil heart with my heavenly blade of light, then I am going to blow a hole in your wicked demon face. Then he launches at Issei, but he dodged it, but Fried quickly turns and shoots him just above left knee, but due to Issei's training he didn't flinch. Fried then says, these bullets have been blessed by an exorcist, hope they taste good, scumbag. Issei then stands up like nothing was wrong due to gaining Ban's powers he gained from the Fountain of Youth and said, oh, is that so? Well then I am not impressed as my masters hits me harder than your measly bullets. Ooh, then maybe it is time for Fried Selzen to send you back to the abyss whence you came, said the psychotic man. You can try, you psychotic freak, Issei challenged. Then he runs at a slow pace as he didn't want to show his true power to this man. Oh, so the scumbag still has some fight left in him, Fried says, then cuts him in the back before saying, get a guy all worked up and leave him half cocked, that no way for a lady to treat a gentleman like myself. Then he brings his sword up and just before he assumes he was kill Issei there was a girly scream. What the hell, Asia, what are you doing here? Are you done creating the barrier already? But it looks like she didn't hear him as she was shocked at seeing the chopped up couple. No, don't do this, Asia said, shocked. Right, a newbie, well I guess it's time you learned this is what the job is, my dear. We dispose of unfortunate people who have been bewitched by the evil devils, Fried tells her. She looks to see Issei sitting upright and crossed leg and gasp, oh, it can't be. Issei raises one hand and says, yo Asia, how are you? Fried looks between the two shocked and says, what's going on, do you two know each other? Asia, still shocked at seeing Issei, says, Issei, why are you here? Oh, that is a easy and simple answer, I am here as a favor for a friend, Issei replied. So, you are a devil, Issei, said a sad Asia. Actually, I'm not, as I have said I am here as a favor, but I will admit they are devils, Issei said without slightest bit of shame. Fried decides interrupts by saying, not that this is heartwarming, but don't listen to him as he might be lying, so you and your friend have no business being together and the fallen angels have forbidden all forms of contact between our kind and theirs. Have you forgotten that already? Now then let's do what we came here to do. Then Fried then places his sword at Issei's throat and says, I hope you said your praise. Asia runs and protect Issei. You have got to be kidding me with this. Please don't, I beg you for mercy, forgive this man of his sins. Father, couldn't we just let him go? Asia begs Fried. Issei says, hey Asia, don't waste your breath with this type of person, after all he is psychotic. I am sure he hold more sins than me, and I hold the title of the 7 deadly sins. That thing is not a man, it is a devil. You made a pledge to defeat our enemy, said Fried. It doesn't matter what he is a good person. I know he is, you can't just kill him. How could you just believe that God would approve this? Asia say. Fried was annoyed and says, enough of this bullshit. Then cuts Asia's robes to revealed white bra and panties, but the bra also got cut, which revealed a nice moderate size breast that will still develop and pale pink tits. She shrieks and covers up, and before Issei could protect her, Fried grabs her and pins her to the wall and molests her, then bring his gun up between her legs and what is her robe and aims at her uterus while saying, why shouldn't a upstanding priest like myself do what he wants with a trump like you? Is that so wrong? Issei got up and said, hey douchebag, how about you pick on someone you own size like me, because with your high and mighty attitude, and I am amazed that you got into this house with how big your ego is. Then he punches Fried in the face. Issei then pulls the priest's sword out and quickly grabs Asia and gently places her on the floor. Then he tosses the priest his sword, then he rips his shirt, and Fried sees 4 crimson animals, a dragon on his left shoulder, a fox on his left hand side, a goat on his cheek on the right hand side, and a boar on the neck on the left hand side, while Asia sees a crimson lion on his back. Issei then places his hand in the dragon, then S short sword appeared on his back and he draws the sword. Fried picks the sword up, then gets up and says, think you can beat me? Then come over here and show me what you've got. Asia then looks up and says, no, don't do it. Fried then said, hey, let go for a new world record, let's see how many pieces of meat I can chop you into. When Fried lounges at Issei, just then a teleportation appeared and Kiba was the first to come thought and blocks the sword and says, hey Issei. Then Akeno come though and says, oh, this is gross, talk about a nasty mess. Then after Akeno, Kaneko came though and says in a monotone, an exorcist. Issei, being a bit shocked, lowers Lostvein and says, hey guys, it's not that I'm glad that you came, but why are you here? Before anyone could answer, the exorcist jumps back and says, ooh yeah, now it looks like you have a good old-fashioned gangbang. Kiba, looking ready to attack, says, you're done here, sorry to disappoint you. Fried then says, oh, I am far from disappointed, trust me. So what the deal? You're the pitcher and he's the catcher. For a priest, that's quite a mouth you've got there, but no, you see, he isn't one of us. Our master sent him here as a favor for us, as one of us was double booked, Kiba said. And what are you, the impiety police? Get off your high horse, douchebag. Hunting your kind is my only concern, so stop preaching and let's get to it, said the annoyed exorcist. My, this guy certainly is a piece of work, Akeno said with a sedative look. Fried said while holding himself, and you, my dear, are a hot piece of ass. Oh, those eyes are killing me. There is nothing I lust after a sexy devil bitch. If you want it, then come and get it, came Ria's voice. Then she sent a blast of hair power, but Fried dodged it at the last second. But don't think you can handle it. No one hurts one of my friends and gets away with it. Well, look at who finally showed her tits. Well, don't get ahead of yourself, as I am sure I had already heard him, Fried said. Issei stand up and says, I don't think you have, as I don't have a mark on my body. Rias looks at Issei and says, Issei, I am sorry I sent you into the hands of an exorcist and I didn't know there was a barrier up, and when Ophis came and asked where you was, I told her that you was doing a favor, and then a moment ago we felt its presence of it. Fried kicks Asia while saying, you was meant to make the barrier die. Issei runs and punches Fried, but this time he put a bit more power into the blow and sends him through a wall. Kaneko took a sniff, then says, fallen angels are here. Fried, who was laughing, said, good timing, hope you're hangry because light spears are on the menu. Issei, who know how many fallen was coming, know that Rias and her peerage couldn't handle that many in close space, and he also wanted to protect everyone minus the psychotic moron, had to ask, so Rias, what is the plan? Well, it was getting you out, came Rias' reply. Okay, I will come with you, but first let me do something, Issei says, then walks over to Asia, then kneels down and whispers in her ear. Don't worry, I will come and get you, then I will protect you, then looks at Rias, then nods. Akeno prepared to jump, Rias instructed, alrighty then. Akeno then summons a teleportation, then everyone inside was gone. In harem, Graphia, Ophis, Shigur going to join Rias, Akeno, Kaneko, Kuroka, Zenobia, Asia, Irina, Rosweiss. I am thinking about adding Reiser's peerage into the harem, so please put a review on what you think. First, previous ch4 of 9. Next, Issei will have his harem and then some list will be at the bottom. We'll have some characters from other anime but only if I find it appreciate. Issei will have some of the personality of the sins like Meliodas being carefree and a little pervert ban arrogance. Normal talking, spirit, animal talking, sentient sacred gears. Techniques. Back at the clubhouse, Rias and her peerage and Issei appeared. Then Rias looked at Issei and said, "Issei, I have to apologize for sending you to the house. If I had known I wouldn't have asked for your help." Issei looked at Rias and said, "Well, I am glad you asked me as you know firsthand that I am very very hard to kill. After all, didn't you have your knight run me though with a sword right at my heart?" Then he left leaving a shocked crimson-haired girl. When Issei got home he said, "Honey, I'm home." Then all of a sudden he was tackled by a black blur. Then he said, "Hey Ophis, how are you?" "I am good, but what happened tonight?" Ophis said. Then Issei told her all about what happened. When he was done, she asked, "What do you plan to do?" "Well, first I plan to go to Paris, then I will be coming back and then I will cause the fallen angels some havoc." Then both of them went to bed. In the morning Ophis went to school and Issei teleported to Paris. When he got there, Ladybug and Chat Noir just finished with their latest Akuma. As he had enough of the Akumas, as most of the time they interrupted the date of two of his friends, so he decides to go and meet with the super duo. But first he decided to first go into an ally, then let Trix out, then said, "Trix, let's pounce." Once the transformation was done he went to find the duo, but first he called them, then made a place to meet up once their kwamis recharge. Once the trio met up, Ladybug run and gave Ban a hug and said, "Hey Ban, how are you?" "I am good, Little Red," Ban replied. Chat said, "So what can we do, Ban?" "Well, hi to you to Chat," Ban said and gave him a fist bump, then said, "How would you like to have a proper date without worry of an Akuma attack, as I am sick and tired of having Marinette calling and crying about all your dates that has been ruined due to an Akuma," which made Ladybug blush. And when I got here you two just finished with the Akuma and placed a tracker on it. Now I am on my way to face Hawkmoth, so do you two want to come with?" Both Ladybug and Chat Noir looked at each other and nodded. Then Ladybug said, "Count us in, but can we get some reinforcements first?" Ban looked like he was thinking and said, "Sure, just in case thing goes south. So do you want to get them or should I?" Ladybug said, "Why does it sound like you know who I choose to be Queen Bee and Carapace as Ban?" Ban had a pride look and said, "Because I do." Chat Noir said, "Careful Ban, you're starting to be arrogant again." Ban said, "And that is the sin of pride," and Ladybug mimicking him. Then the three of them laughed. Then Ladybug went off to get the bee and turtle miraculous and the holders that Ladybug trust them with. About half an hour then when Ladybug showed up with Queen Bee and Carapace, then Ladybug said, "Okay Foxy Sinner, who are these two? Are you seriously asking me this now?" And Ladybug nodded. He points to Queen Bee and said, "She is Alia Césaire." Then points to Carapace and says, "And he is Nino Lahif," and all four of them was shocked before Ban continued, "Now are you fishes finished? We have a mission to do." Ladybug shook her shock and said, "Ooh yes, so what do you plan to do, Ban?" "Well, first I plan to talk to Mothy Boy, then how that proceeds depends on him," Ban replied. Queen Bee looked at Ban. "Are you crazy? Hey, have we met?" Queen Bee, "The first do hold the title the 7 deadly sins," Ban said. Queen Bee looked down and mumbled, "You do have a point." Then the rest of the group laughed. Once the laughter died down, Ban said in a serious tone, "Now I will be teleporting straight Hawkmoth's lair, so try not to throw up." And the four French heroes nodded. Then a circle appeared. Then the group was gone, and when they reappeared in a pitch-dark room, then Ban shouted, "Hello, is anybody home?" Then Ladybug slapped him, which got a, "Hey, what was that for?" Ladybug then said, "That was not taking this seriously." Before anyone could say anything, the sunlight opened up and standing in front of them was Hawkmoth and Myra. Then Hawkmoth said, "Ah, it is good that you came and hand over your miraculous to me. But before that happens, I have to ask, how did you get in here?" Ban stepped forward and said, "That is because of me. I came here to talk, and they are here as backup in case this goes south." Myra said, "Why now do you do this, Ban?" To simple put it, I am tired of having the lady phoning me crying because Hockey here decided to akumatize someone, so here is the deal. I will ask just one question and where that goes depends on him. Myra was taken back by the answer asked, "What do you mean where it goes depends on him?" "Well, depending on the answer he gives me I might just help him if it is justified, not that I approve of it, mind you," replied Ban. Hawkmoth took some thought into it before answering, "Okay, you have a deal, so ask your question." Why do you want to make the wish that the cat and bug can give? Ban asked. Hawkmoth was not expecting that question answered. Is it to bring my wife back? If you follow me I will show you. Sure. But you might want to get your assistant to drop her transformation as I can tell something is wrong with her, Ban said, which shocked both supervillains. No, I will stay with Hawkmoth, Myra said. Okay, was all Ban said before Hawkmoth showed the heroes something that shocked Chat Noir. There was a glass-like coffin, was a woman in a white suit with blonde hair. Ban said. So what is the problem with her? Hawkmoth looked at Ban and said, what you will help. Ban still looking at the blonde woman and said, why wouldn't I, even though I don't condemn what you have done Hockey, but you done what you think what had done, so this is a noble cause, plus if I didn't help you and my masters find out they will try and kill me, so cause, then looks at the others and said, you lot can say over there, then points to the other side before saying, Chat think you can last till I'm done before you go ballistic. Yes, I think I can, Chat replied, she is in a coma due to using the peacock miraculous which is damage, Hawkmoth replied. Oh yes, before I start, just so you know Hawkmoth, I want payment, Ban said. You wake up Emily, I will give you my company, Hawkmoth said. That won't be necessary as I will take both the butterfly and the peacock miraculous, Ban said. Done, was all Hawkmoth said. Righty-o, then let's get started, Ban said, dropping the transformation, which shocked everyone. Then Ban looked at the others and said, what? Ladybug said, you moron, why did you do that? Well, because we are about to reveal ourselves due to him giving me the butterfly and the peacock as payment. So I can wake up Sleeping Beauty here, plus Chat now knows who he was fighting. Then he thought, hey Merlin, you will need to take me over due to this being way out of my league. He let the original Boar Sin take over. Then Issei's eyes went from red to gold, then said with a feminine tone, now then let's see what we have here. Then looked over the woman. After a couple of minutes she said, well, this isn't much of a problem. Then looked at the others and told them to get some ingredients. Before they left, Ladybug asked, are you okay Issei, as your eyes just changed color? Issei, Merlin said, greetings Marinette, Aaliyah, Nino, Adrian, Gabriel and Natalie, I am not Issei. Chat, who was dropping his transformation, said, you are one of the original 7 deadly sins, aren't you? Followed by everyone else. You got that right, I am Merlin, the Boar Sin of gluttony. Issei let me take over due to the task is currently out of his league. Then everyone went to get the ingredients. After half an hour everyone had returned. Then Merlin started shortly after Gabriel started to apologize for everything. After a few hours Merlin was done and made Emily drink it. Then after a few moments Emily's eyes fluttered open. Then Gabriel slowly walked over as if he couldn't believe his eyes, then hugged his wife. Then Emily asked, where am I? You are home my dear, was Gabriel's reply. Dusu flew up and hugged Emily's cheek while crying and said, well, come back. Emily smiled and hugged the Kwame and said, it's good to be back. Dusu then started to cry again and said, I am afraid this might be the last time we see each other due to that boy, points to Issei. Helped bring you back. Gabriel has to give him both Mai and Noru's miraculous. Emily, shocked by what happened, said, what? Then walked over to Issei and asked, why are you taking the miraculous? Issei looked at Emily and said, well, is it my payment for brining you out of the coma that you placed yourself in when you used the broken peacock miraculous, and because of what he did while you was in the coma, but I might be able to persuade the guardian to let you two look after them, but in the condition that you do not use them for evil, otherwise I will come after both of you. Are we clear? Both Emily and Gabriel looked like they was about to pee themselves, then said, crystal. Okay, both of you can follow me so we can head to the guardian and get that miraculous fixed, Issei said. Right then, shall we? Gabriel said as he headed to the door. Marinette remembered something, said, Issei, how about once you get the miraculous fixed, would you like to meet us at the park with our classmates? Sure. I'll be there, Issei replied, then followed Gabriel to a limo, then gave the driver the address. After a 5-minute journey, which was mostly Emily scolding Gabriel about what he done, they arrived at the guardian's place. Before the trio went in, Issei stopped, looked the married couple and said, I want both of you to wait out here for a couple of minutes. Before Gabriel could moan about it, Emily said, I will do, then gave Gabriel a look at said, agree or you are in more trouble than you are in right now. Okay. Gabriel sighed when Issei walked through the doorway and saw Master Fu. He said, greetings Master, I have brought a couple of people for private massage. Okay, bring them in Issei, Master Fu said. Then Issei went out and came back in with Emily and Gabriel. Then Master Fu said, So Issei said, you two are here a private massage, what can I do for you? Emily said, well sir, he told us you can fix this, then showed him the miraculous, then points to Gabriel and said, and as for my husband, he is here to apologize for all the trouble he has caused as Hawkmoth to revive me. Master Fu looks at the peacock miraculous and says, well, this won't take long to fix, and as for you Mr. Agreste, while I understand way you did it, as I might have done the same thing. Then Master Fu took a deep breath and said, but I do not condemn you actions, you have a lot of making up to do, even though I will not tell anyone, then went to fix the miraculous, which shocked the designer. After an hour Master Fu came back and was about to put the peacock miraculous in the miracle box when Issei stopped him by saying, you know master, I know you want them back, but I think you should let Gab and Emmy keep them, which got a strange look from Fu. Now don't look at me like that, I have seen how the Kwamis are around them. It is true that Gab used his for evil, he did it as his wife was in a magic coma, and as Master Akisame sometimes says, magic must defeat magic, and as I told them, if I hear on the news that they are using the miraculous for personal gain, I will hunt them down, and for that you have my word, and plus you know as well as I about the supernatural world. Master Fu thought for a few minutes and said, okay, you win, but you have to tell all the miraculous users. Then he looked at the married couple and said, you both can keep the miraculous, as Issei had gave his word that you was only trying to gain the ring and earrings so you can bring you wife back, and that if either of you miraculous are being used for personal gain he will hunt you down. Emily said, yes, we had already agreed to that. Then Master Fu gave the peacock miraculous back to Emily and said, then that is all, please come again. Once outside Emily turned to Issei and asked, do you want to be dropped off at the park? Issei, no thanks Mrs. Agreste, I will fly there, Issei said before he just took off and headed for the park. Once he got there he said, hey guys, how are you and what are you talking about? Alex said, hey Issei, we are good, and Lila was just telling us that she went on a date with the grandson of the headmaster at the most famous dojo in the world, Ryozanpaka. Isn't that cool, and he rocked her world if you know mean. Issei looked shocked by this statement and said, I know what you mean, and it might be an interesting story if that is true. Lila took on an offensive look and said, are you calling me a liar? Issei looked at Lila and said, do you want to hear what I really think or what you want to hear? Lila knew that if she chose the latter it might reveal that she was lying a lot of the time, and thinking that it was a trick question she said, what you really think? Well okay, so just don't go crazy if you don't like the answer. I know you are a liar, Issei said. Lila went wide-eyed. Then Ivan said, how can you just call her a liar without any proof? Well Ivan, I can do just that, Issei said. No, you can't just say that she is lying without any proof, Max said. Actually, he can, and all the proof that he need is himself. After all, what Lila is saying involves him. Max, Marinette says. Wait, you mean to tell us, Rose began. Yes, I am the grandson of the headmaster at Ryozanpaka dojo, and I have not seen her near the dojo, Issei said, which shocked mostly everyone apart from Marinette. Aaliyah, Nino and Adrian, and as for Lila, was now sweating bullets as she didn't know that Issei was the grandson of the Grandmaster, and only that the Grandmaster had a grandson. Before Issei continued, so if she is lying about me, what else has she been lying about? And before anyone could ask, Lila run for it. After a few more hours, Issei, Marinette, Ayla, Nino was at the Agreste residence having dinner when Emily asked, so Issei, how did you do that flying trick when we left the Guardian's place? And this got everyone's attention, but mostly Issei's friends. Well, for you to know that, you need to know that there is a multiverse and not just a universe, and in one particular there are 5 races. You have the giants, the fairies, the humans, the goddess and the demons. I will be skipping majority of it, and each living thing has something called a magical ability. The humans have an army called Magic Knights, and the most powerful are 7 criminals of sorts called the 7 deadly sins, and they went all human. Ether, you had Merlin the boar, sin of gluttony, a mage king or harlequin, a fairy. Then you have Ban the fox, sin of greed, a human who gave up being immortal to save the one he loves. Then you have Gauthar the boar, sin of lust, a dull created by a demon. Next you have Escanor the lion, sin of pride, a human. After that you have Diane the serpent, sin of envy, she was a giant. And lastly you have Meliodas the dragon, sin of wrath, and he was a demon. And about 10 years ago I almost died trying to protect someone and found them in my mindscape, and in order to save me they had to become one with me. Nino asked, so you are a being who is part mage, an immortal, a giant, a demon, a human and a fairy. Gabriel looked at Issei with a critical eye and said, So does this have something to do with how you managed to persuade the guardian about us keeping the miraculous? As a matter of fact it does. Your son and everyone here knows this, but you know the myths and legends, which got a knot from the married couple. Well, they are real, and occasionally you do get rouges, and the church or devils send word to whoever owns the territory that the rouges are hiding, and then the owner will normally sort it out themselves. Aaliyah asks, what do you mean by normally? Well, you see, the owner of Paris isn't as young as he used to be, Issei replied. Marinette was shocked as, wait, do you mean that Master Fouet, the owner of Paris, is? Yes, I do, so you should all talk to him. You all should go and talk with him sometime soon, and thanks for dinner. Now I must get back as I still need to cause some havoc for some fallen angels, Issei said, then disappeared. Gabriel looked at Natalie, then said, okay Natalie, I want you to free my plans for the weekend as we have an important meeting to do tomorrow, and I want some time with my family, and that includes my son's girlfriend. When Issei appeared in the clubhouse he was met with angry Rias, who said, and where have you been? Issei looked at Rias and said, hey, I don't remember. I have to tell you where I want to go. Rias looked ashamed and said, you're right, and I'm sorry. Just so you know, Sona is looking for you for just ditching the day away. In Harem, Grafia, Ophis, Shigur going to join Rias, Akano, Kaneko, Kuroka, Zenobia, Asia, Irina, Rosweiss, Riser's peerage. First, previous ch5 of 9. Next, Issei will have his harem, and then some list will be at the bottom. We'll have some characters from other anime, but only if I find it appreciate. Issei will have some of the personality of the sins, like Meliodas being carefree and a little pervert ban arrogance. Normal talking, spirit, animal talking, sentient sacred gears. Techniques. After dicking Rias, Issei went to the park and saw Asia, then he walked up behind her and said, hey Asia, how are you? Asia jumped a bit, turned around, saw who it was, said, Issei, you scared me, and I am good. Issei looked around, saw that there was no one here, turned to Asia and said, so what brings you here? Oh, I am here as I couldn't deal with what the fallen angels was doing, so I run away, Asia replied. Issei was surprised by this, then said, okay, then let's go somewhere else and grab a bite to eat. Then he took her to a fast food joint, then before either of them knew it had turned into a date, and at the end they was by a fountain, and Asia was telling Issei her past, when then Issei said, well, that is sad, and I might sound like an ass for saying this, but I am glad that you went, though what you did after all, it brought you here and we became friend, and I don't give a shit what anyone says. Asia, who had tears in her eyes, said, thank you Issei. Then there was a female's voice behind Issei who said, isn't that sweet? Issei turned around and saw a fallen angel, and before he could say anything Asia said in a scared tone, Lady Rainier. Issei turned to look at Asia and said, wait, you know this perverted fallen? Rainier, who heard him, said, who the fuck do you think you are, calling me a pervert, and don't you think about running Asia? Issei, sensing a fight coming, took a step to protect Asia, and the latter said, go away, I don't want to be a part of any evil that you and the others are doing. Issei looked at Rainier and said, you heard her, now piss off. But the fallen summoned a spear of light, and Issei said, oh, a spear of light, I'm shaking. Then before anything else happened, Rainier threw the spear at Issei and it went thought him, and he coughed up some blood, and when the spear faded the wound healed and he noticed a pale green glow. The fallen angel then said, now Asia, be a good little girl and come with me, as your healing powers will be more useful than anything, or I will kill your friend. Then she summoned another light spear. Issei got up, then said, like hell, she is going with you. Then he felt a sense of dread. He then looked up and saw the fallen about to throw the spear. He then pushed Asia out of the way. When the spear hit the ground it exploded, coursing Issei to flies into the water. Asia shouted, Issei, no. Rainier then floats down next to Asia and said, I spared his life on purpose. If I wanted to, he would be dead now. Asia looked defeated and said, I'll go with you. And before Issei could get to the, Asia said, goodbye Issei, I'll miss you. Then they was gone. Issei went to inform Rias about what happened by the fountain and what he plans to do, but before he could finish, Akano came and whispered something in Rias' ear. She said, something has come up, Akano, and I have to step out for a moment. Continue where we left off when we get back, okay Issei. The moment Rias and Akano left, Issei said, well, I'm not waiting around for them to come back, then walks to the door. Kiba then said, mind if and Kaneko come with you? Issei stopped, then turned around and said, sure, I don't mind, but just so you know, I plan on going through the main door. Rias and Akano appeared behind the church, and they was instantly greeted by a little blonde fallen who seemed a bit arrogant. Then Rias said, Since you are standing guard, your people must be worried of an attack." The blonde girl said, "Worried as if we just don't want you devils to interfere with a very important ritual that is going to happen tonight." Akeno then said, "Well, there just so happens that one of our friends and two of the younger members of our team are going there right now, and they are not exactly being secretive about it either." Which caused the girl to go on a rant, then said, "Well, if you want to save them you will have to go through me first." Rias said, "Well, sorry to bust your bubble, but we are not exactly going to do any sort-of rescue op, we are here to see what Issei is capable of." Meanwhile on the front side Issei, Kiba and Kaneko was talking, and Kaneko walks up to the door and kicks it while saying, "They know we are here." Once inside there was no one anywhere, then Issei said, "Now I am used to this sort of thing, but damn it, shit still creeps me out." Then there was a clapping, then Fried stood up and said, "Well, I was hoping we would meet again, so I am glad you could make it, I bet you missed me." Issei then said, "Yeah right, you psychotic bastard." Fried then said, "Here's the thing, I pride myself that I never battle a devil more than once, and yet here you are just rubbing it in, and I will never abide by, and that is being mocked by bandit devils in the house of God, so what do you say, let's finish this?" Then he pulls out his gun and sword. Issei took a step forward and said, "Where is she?" Fried said, "You mean that dirty devil-loving whore, she is just downstairs, that is just below the altar that we are currently standing on, but in order to do that you will have to get through me." Kaneko then picked up a bench, then throw it at the Rouge, cut the bench, then said, "You're pretty strong for runt." Kaneko then said, "Suck it," then throw some more benches. Then Kiba kept the priest occupied while Issei sneaked over to the altar, then he picked it up, breaking whatever it was holding it there, he throw it at the priest, then went down, and Kiba and Kaneko followed. When they got to the room that they was holding Asia, they saw she was tied to a cross that just started to glow green, and Asia screaming, then a small glow formed in front of her chest and Asia's screams died down, then she went limp, and Rainier said, "Ah, at last twilight healing is now in my hand." Kaneko and Kiba both drive forward spiting the group of priests so Issei could get to Asia, and with tremendous speed he got Asia and was walking away while carrying the small girl in a bridal style, and Rainier said, "You can take her, I got what I needed." Issei didn't say a word, and he bangs covering his eyes, and not liking that this boy was ignoring her she throw a spear at him, but he jumped down the stairs and landed without a sound, then with the same speed he run out to the stairs. Once in the main hall he placed Asia on the bench, then he waited for anyone to show up, and it didn't take long as Rainier, who healed a cut, and said, "You male teammate did this." Issei said, "I will ask once return the secured gear to Asia for face something far more dangerous than a devil." "Empty threats," Rainier said. Then all of a sudden there was a dark pressure. Rainier looked at Issei and saw his eye was black and not gold, and he had a mark above his right eye. Then he said, "You face devils nor the try a demon." All the fallen angel did was summoned a spear and throw it at Issei, but he caught it and said, "I've had enough of this." Then he shattered the spear, then he walked over to Rainier, grabbed her, then took the rings, then he throw her out the door. He was on back to Asia when he saw Rias, who said, "So that's what you are, a demon? How about we make a deal, you tell me what are capable of and I bring Asia back." Issei took about a minute to think, then said, "Deal, but you bring her back and it will tell you tomorrow." "Okay." Rias said. Then Issei handed her the twilight healing. The Rias done the resurrection ritual. After a joyous moment everyone was leaving, but once they got outside Issei just froze. When Rias noticed this, she tried to snap him out of it. Meanwhile at Ryazanpaku, Hayato was in his room when he heard something break. He looked over and saw it was a glass ape, and then remembered what it signaled. Flashback. It had been a month since Issei moved into Ryazanpaku, and time Issei was going to bed when Merlin asked him something. "Hey Issei, do you mind if I take control, as I need to talk to your grandfather about something and I need it to be private so no overhearing." Issei thought back. "Sure, but will you tell me what you talked to Gigi someday?" As Merlin took over, she said, "Sure I will." Then she walked to the office. Once Merlin was at the office and knocked. Hayato said, "Come in." Once Merlin walked in, Hayato said, "Ah Issei, it's your bedtime, so you should be heading to bed." When Merlin replied, both hers and Issei's voices was overlapping. "Sorry Hayato, but I am not Issei, I am Merlin the boar sin gluttony, and I need to talk to you something about the boy's DNA, and there was something there that wasn't human, so I ask you, do you know what it is?" Hayato took a deep breath and said, "Yes I do, it is the legacy of a humanoid alien race called Saiyans." Then he told her all about the Saiyan race, then finished with, "So as you can see the bloodline is not potent enough to cause any real trouble." Merlin then said, Well, you might want to worry with the 7 deadly sins inside Issei and giving him power. It is also going to make the Saiyan DNA stronger, but it won't be strong enough to turn Issei into the ape form until he is 15. Then the bloodline will take effect, and I know the master at your dojo might strong enough to contain him when that happens. Hayato looked shocked, then said, as you know, when he turns 15. He is moving back to his mother, so how can we know when that happens? Merlin then took a few minutes to think of a solution, then she said, I have an idea. Then with a wave of the hand a glass figurine that was the shape of an ape then said, that figurine is connected to the bloodline. When it breaks, that means Issei is under the full moon spell. Hayato took the figurine then said, thank you Merlin, and please don't tell Issei this until the transformation. Merlin then said, well, you didn't have to ask me that, as I was already going to do the exact thing. Then she walks out of the room and backs to Issei's room. Flashback end. Hayato then summoned all the masters, and when all the masters showed up, Hayato said in a very serious tone, thanks for coming, but we have a problem. Everybody was surprised the serious tone, and Akisame said, what is the problem? All Hayato said, it is Issei, and that got everyone's attention. Then Hayato told them about the talk he had with Merlin and how Issei is the trouble. Once Hayato was done talking, Shigur then said, so when do we leave? Now, was all Hayato said. Then all 6 masters run out and run at full speed to Kuo. Back at the church, Rias and her team was now beginning to worry when they saw a monkey tail grow out of Issei's tailbone. Then his chest began to expand like Issei's heart was growing. Then after every 10 seconds his muscles began to expand, ripping his already torn cloths. Then he began to grow taller, and here after the transformation was done, Issei had turned into a giant ape. Rias slowly flew over to his face and said, Issei, are you alright? But she didn't get a response. Instead the ape swung a hand and knocked her to the ground, which left an impacted to where she landed. Akeno couldn't believe that Issei did what he did, shouted, hey Issei, stop this at once or you will be sorry. But she did not get the response she wanted due to the ape threw a tree at her. Once out of harm, she summoned a few bolts of lighting, but when the bolt hit Issei it did nothing but annoyed him. Kiba summoned a sword and went to slash his leg, but the sword shattered, and this went on for half an hour. When Rias was smacked to the ground for the umpteenth time, she landed near the ape's foot, and the ape lifted his foot up with the intent to squash Rias. When the ape brought his foot down, Rias closed her eyes waiting for the pain that was to come, but it never came, so she opened one eye and saw that someone with tanned skin, who then shouted to someone, hey Akisame, Apachai saved Crimson Girl. Good, now Apachai, we need to focus at the task at hand, Sakari said. Once the Apachai put Rias down, she saw 4 grown men and a grown woman standing there, and all the men had her beaten peerage. Then Rias asked, who are you people? The oldest man looked at Rias and said, we are the masters at the Ryozanpaka dojo. Rias was shocked as she is meeting legends and worried for Issei, then said, please don't kill the ape, it's not his fault. Then Akisame said as he placed Kaneko down, we are not here to kill Issei, Miss Gremory, we are here to stall for the next hour, as the sun will soon be rising and we would be out of our mind if we was going to kill the grandson of the Grand Master. This news shocked most of the teenagers. Then Asia asked Rias, excuse me Rias, but why are you and your team shocked by this news? Kiba limped over and said, the Ryozanpaka dojo has masters that are so strong that most if not all factions are afraid of them if they even take jobs from the factions, but they have a rule for the supernatural world that if they take a job they do not kill the innocent, and you would be wise not to lie to them. Shigur looked over and said, you are right about that, now you kids stay here and let us take care of this. Then the masters went to attack the ape. They seemed to be fine. So Asia started to heal everyone. There was about 10 minutes left till the sun rises, and most of the masters was having trouble standing. Seeing no other choice, Hayato said, fall back everyone, I will hold Issei for the last few minutes. Sakari asked, are you sure you can handle this? After all, this is not a normal fight. Hayato looked at Sakari and said, I will be fine, after all I have yet to bring out my trump card. Sakari then nodded, then jumped over to where Rias and her peerage was, and Rias looked at Sakari and said, what is the old man doing? He is going to get himself killed. Sakari, who was still watching Hayato, said, relax, there is a reason why he is known as the invincible Superman. Hayato was walking towards Ape Issei and brought his left arm, then there was a red glow, then a red gauntlet appeared with a green jewel, then a voice came out the gauntlet that said, it's been a long time since you used me, partner, so you opponent must be tough. Hayato said, it has been a long time, Diedrich, and as for who our opponent, it is our grandson. Because of some circumstance he is now a giant ape. Diedrich said in a surprised tone, "I take it has something to do with the 7 deadly sins that is lives inside your grandson, does it?" Hayato chuckled, then said, "They are half of the problem, the other half of the problem is me now." Then balance breaker. Then Hayato was in a dragon scale armor. Diedrich then, boost 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 boost. Then Hayato kept the ape busy, then the sun, then the ape started to shrink, then once the transformation was done, Issei was sleeping in his birthday suit and the 5 females blushed when they saw his penis. Hayato took of his shirt, placed it on him, then picked Issei up, then looked at the others and said, "Issei will be put till tomorrow due to the first time transformation, so I am going to take him home, then I will meet you clubhouse and I will tell you everything there is to him so you can make," then took Issei home. Once Hayato was at his daughter's house when he knocked. Miki answered, saw that it was her father, then saw that he was carrying Issei. She panicked, but Hayato calmed her by saying, "Calm down Miki, he just had that transformation that I told you about 10 years ago about our bloodline." Once Miki calmed down, her father said, "Now mind showing me Issei's room, as I need to let his devil friends everything that, as if the others haven't done it already." Then Miki showed her father where Issei's room was. When Hayato was leaving, he turned to his daughter and said, "I will be by later to check on him," then he left for the school. Once Hayato was at the clubhouse, he was meet with a Kano who showed him the way. When he was in the main room, Rias the said, "Greeting Grandmaster and welcome, you don't have to tell us about Issei, as a Kisame had told us about the powers he has that comes from a different universe." In harem Graphia, Ophis, Shigur going to join Rias, Akano, Kaneko, Kuroka, Zenobia, Asia, Irina, Rosweiss, Riser's peerage. First, previous ch6 of 9. Next, Issei will have his harem and then some list will be at the bottom. We'll have some characters from other anime, but only if I find it appreciate. Issei will have some of the personality of the sins, like Meliodas being carefree and a little pervert ban arrogance. Normal talking, spirit, animal talking, sentient sacred gears. Techniques. It's been a month since Issei discovered that he is a wereape. We find Issei in the orc clubroom with Kaneko and Kuroka as he began thinking back to the chat he had with the 7 deadly sins. Flashback. Issei woke up in his mindscape. He looks around, he see the 7 deadly sin. He walks up to them and said, "Hey guys, what happened?" Merlin looks around to Issei and said, "Do you remember the conversation we had 10 years ago?" Issei thinks for a few minutes and said, "Are you talking about the time that you had talked to Gramps about something important, but I couldn't know what it was about?" "Yes, that one. Now it is time you know what I talked to your grandpa about. You see, I am someone that get curious about many things, and when we all ended up here and you knew about us, that gave us some freedom, so I took a look at your DNA and found something interesting, so I studied it, and over the first month I noticed it growing. It was like your body was balancing out all your DNA as if it was trying to perfectly balance out your giant fairy, demon, human and the unknown. So after I done some more tests, I noticed that it also produced its own kind of power, so I talked to your grandpa and he said that the DNA is from alien race called Saiyans and told me all about the Saiyan race." Merlin explained everything that Hayato told her. Issei then said, "So to simply put, I am one overpowered badass fighter." Merlin then said, "That's one way of putting it. Now it is time you woke up." When Issei woke up, he was instantly tackled into a hug by Ophis and Shigur. Then Issei and Shigur had a chat about that Shigur gave him, and Issei accepted her feeling. End flashback. Issei was brought out of the memory because Rias just showed up with the rest of her peerage, and when she saw Kuroka she asked, "Ah Kuroka, glad to see you. Have you gave the thought about my offer?" Kuroka sat up and looked at Rias and said, "I have Rias and I will accepted your offer." Rias looked shocked, then said, "Thank you Kuroka, you won't regret this." Kuroka said, "I know I won't. After all, it was Sharon that convinced me to join, saying that you treat her like family and that you won't force anyone to do something that they don't want to do." Rias then said with pride in her tone, "That's right." While Rias was doing the ritual, Akano, who was serving tea, turned to Issei, who was reading a manga, and said, "By the sound of her tone you might be losing your pride title, Issei." Issei looked up from his manga and laughed, then said, "That is unlikely, and trust me when I say you will know when I do use my power that comes from pride. When I come to the 7 deadly sins, no one will come close to owning the sins titles," stated Ophis. Rias then coughed to get everyone's attention, then she said, "Well Asia, your leaflet duties are done, you are getting a familiar." Just then there was a knock at the door and Akano said, "Yeah." When the door opened it revealed the student council. When Issei was who it was he went back to reading his book. Then Rias said, "Hey Sona, what brings you here?" Sona said, "Nothing, I just wanted to congratulate you on getting more servants, though by the looks of it I could question your choices." After telling Asia and pretending Issei who Sona really was, the blonde behind Sona said, "Well, I am surprised you haven't told Issei into about us, but if you don't trust your boyfriend about inside info then he isn't worth much." Issei said, "Well, aren't you an arrogant one?" Sona then said, "This is Saji Genshiru, my pawn." Rias then said, "This is my pawn Kuroka and my bishop Asia Argento." Saji looked shocked and said, "Wait, what about that girl?" Point to Office, and him, points to Issei. Office ignored Saji's rant and said, "Nice to meet you when you are not attacking. I am the Ouroboros dragon and my name is Office." Issei put his book down, got up and walked to Sona and said, "Well, it's nice to meet the younger sister of the Leviathan. I am Issei, history's strongest disciple," which made Sona and most of her peerage with the exception of Saji pale, as well as Kuroka, though not as bad, and a smirk from Rias and Akeno. Saji, looking confused, looked at his king and said, "Hey Sona, why did you?" And everyone paled when he said he was history's strongest disciple. Sona said, "What he means is that he had trained at a dojo known as Ryozanpaka, and when he first started here me and Rias fought him with our entire peerage." Saji looked at Issei and said, "So you are weak to be beaten by a bunch of girls?" Rias then said, "Actually he beat us, though my peerage managed to hit him, but he wiped the floor with us, and we only managed to figure it out last month when they showed up." Sona looked shocked and said, "Does this have anything to do with that giant ape that showed up last month?" Issei said, "So you saw me then?" Sona, shocked by this, said, "Wait, that was you, but there is no gear that can make you transform into the ape." Office then said, "That is because the transformation didn't come from a scared gear, it come from Issei's bloodline." Before anyone could say anything, Issei turned back to Sona and said, "Enough with the buttering up. Sona, what are you really doing here? Does it have anything to do with getting a familiar?" Sona looked at Issei with a shocked look and said, "How did you know that?" Issei smirked and said, "It wasn't hard to figure out. The master of the familiar forest takes one peerage at a time, and you show up when Rias was going to the forest." Rias looked at Sona and said, "You know what this means, don't you? We have a game on who to see who goes tomorrow." "Yes, we know. So what game shall we play?" Sona asked. "Who about a game of tennis?" Office suggested. "Okay, it will be a doubles game. It will be king and queen agents each other," Issei said. The next day, the game is canon. It is the end of the day and we find everyone on the orc clubroom with the curtains drawn to stop Issei from going ape when Akeno summoned the circle to get to the forest. Then Rias and her peerage teleported to the forest along with Issei, and Office decided to go and let Mickey know what her son was up to. When they get to the forest they were greeted by the master of the forest. "Greetings, so how many devils are getting a familiar tonight?" Rias said, "Just one, though I have no idea why Issei come along." The master looked at Issei and said, "And who might you be, boy, and why did you come here?" "I am Issei Hyodo, pleased to meet you, and came with them because I was curious about the whole familiar process and wanted to look around the forest," Issei replied. Then he started to walk away. The master was shocked that Issei just admitted that he wanted to look around, and the fact that he is walking away like he didn't care that he might run into some powerful creatures before he could say anything. Rias said, "Don't worry about him, he is the grandson of the Ryozanpaka dojo and he swept the floor with us when we tried and kill him." The master was shocked and said, "Well, okay, come along and we will get the girl a familiar." Then they started looking. Meanwhile Issei was looking around. He came upon a cave and asked, "So what do you think, Trix? Check it out or leave it?" The kwami flew out of Issei's pocket and said, "I think we should go in and look around." With that decided, they both went in to check what is inside, and after they got to a big cavern they was met with a fire attack, but Issei, who had a stick, said, "Full counter," and sent the attack back to where it came from. Then Issei shouted, "All right, what's the big idea? Show yourself and explain." "Very well," came a feminine voice. Then Issei found himself standing in front of a pale blue western dragon. "I attacked you. It was meant to be a warning shot so I don't have to be your familiar." Issei looked at the dragon and said, "So you attacked me because you thought I wanted to make you my familiar?" Which got a nod from the dragon, and Issei continued, "Well, for starters, we didn't know you was in here. We came in here to explore. One more thing, I am not a devil." "Well, if that's the case, I am sorry for attacking you. My name is Tiamat. What is yours?" asked Tiamat. "I'm Issei. Nice to meet you, Tiamat," Issei introduced. And I am Trix, Trix said so. The three of them started to chat, and after a while Issei got a message from Rias saying they are done, and so Issei turned to Tiamat and said, "Well, the devils that I came with are done, so I have to go. Bye Tiamat." Then Issei started to walk out the cave. Tiamat looked at Issei and said, "Wait, I know that you didn't come here to find a familiar, and I know I said that I don't want to become one, but after talking to you I have changed my mind and I want to become your familiar." Issei looked at Trix and asked, "So what do you think, Trix?" Trix looked like he was deep in thought before saying, "If she want to do it, then I say let her." Issei then turned to Tiamat to ask, "Are you sure you want to do this?" Tiamat said, "Yes, I am sure." "Well, okay, then I will gladly accept you as my familiar," and with they went to find Rias and the others. When they got there, Asia had a blue dragon. When they was Issei flying over, what they saw next somehow didn't shock them, only shocked the familiar master as he stuttered, "Issei, do you know that Tiamat is behind you?" "Oh yes, I knew she was following me from the moment we left her cave, as she want to be my familiar," Issei said. The next thing everyone heard was a thumping sound as the familiar master fainted before anyone could say anything. Issei said, "Well, time to go home." "Wait, mind if I go with you?" Tiamat asked. "I don't mind, but I don't think the human realm would like a dragon walking around town," Issei replied. "Well, that isn't a problem," Tiamat said before a light covered her. When it died down, there stood a beautiful woman with straight and long, beautiful pale blue hair, dark blue eyes. Rias then said, "Well, that takes care of that Akano, if you please." Then Akano summoned a circle. They was gone. The next morning Issei woke up with a start and said, "Well, that's one weird dream." Then gets ready. "Don't count it just a dream, Issei. I had my far share vision dreams," Merlin said. "So you're telling me that Rias is getting married to someone?" Issei thought back. "Possibly we won't know what the vision until it is time," Merlin said. Issei and Ophis was on the way to school, and Issei told Ophis about his dream, vision. The end of the Issei was on his way to the orc clubroom. Then he got there, he saw Rias was talking to someone from hell when she said, "For the last time, Riser, I will not be your wife." "But Rias, it is to ensure that devils stay strong. It is imperative that there are pure-breeded devils," said Riser. "Sounds to me that you're the weak one if that your story," Issei said. "Oh, and who are you to question the power of the great Riser Phoenix?" Riser said. "Oh, so not only is he arrogant, he is a dumbass anyway. I am Issei, pleased to meet you," Issei said. "Well, Issei, I am Riser Phoenix of the noble devil Phoenix," said Riser. "Oh, so have you been exiled as you are not noble?" Issei joked. "Why, you little," Riser said as he summoned magical power, then sent the attack at him, and Issei took the attack, and Riser said with a smirk, "Take that, asshole." But the smirk disappeared when he saw Issei was unharmed but only had his clothes burned. Issei said, "I really don't think that is you best. I hope if we fight, I hope you take me seriously, otherwise it might not be any fun for me." Before anyone could, Graphia showed up and said, "Enough, Issei and Rias, if you don't want to wed Riser, then it will go into a rating game for you. Cancel the contact." "Yes, I will do the rating games," Rias said. "Very well, then both participants will have 10 days to train," said Graphia. "Well, just so you know that I have many wins in the rating games while Rias has none," Riser said, then summoned his peerage. Now Issei could sense many things. He could tell that Riser's peerage didn't like him, and one of them was a family member. Then with the Riser left with his peerage, Graphia then looked at Issei and said, "What are you thinking?" Issei looked at his girlfriend and said, "I know what they are going to do. They will go some place and train, so when they all sleep, I am going to kidnap them and take them to Ryozanpaka." Which shocked Graphia. "Will they train them?" Issei thought for a few moments and said, "Probably, but you might need a backup plan just in case." Which Graphia nodded, then went to inform Sirzex. When Graphia appeared in Sirzek's office, she told him what went down and that Issei is helping them. Once she was done, she asks, "Sirzek-sama, what will you do if your sister doesn't win?" Sirzex turns around and says, "Probably something stupid like hire someone from the dojo." "You know they won't do it, Sirzex," Graphia said. "Actually, there is one that might do it, and I am talking about you, boyfriend," Sirzex stated. Graphia looked shocked but regained her composure and said, "What will you give him for the job?" "That's as both easy and hard as it requires you, Graphia, as I am willing to free you if he accepts it, of course," Sirzex replied. Graphia was shocked by the news and asked, "You are willing to free me to ensure your sister doesn't have to marry Riser?" "For any member of my family I will do anything to ensure that they are happy. You are free to go," Sirzex said. That night when all of Rias group minus Asia as she is staying at the Hyodo residence, Issei with the help of Ophis and Tiamat kidnapped the everyone and they placed them in the cart that Issei's masters built him once. On the way Asia asked, "So Issei, why did you tell me to stay in the cart and kidnap Rias and the others?" "I am doing this to help. I know 10 days isn't much time, so they need masters and I know the best around," Issei replied. After about an hour Kaneko woke up and saw that she has been kidnapped but calmed down when she saw it was Issei. Then she saw a dojo coming into view. Issei went in, so she decided to wake everyone up, and about 10 minutes later the masters came out and Hayato said, "So Rias Gremory, you have 10 days to train to get out of a marriage you don't want, so I welcome you and your team to the one and only Ryozanpaka dojo." The next part is pretty much Conan. It is the day after the rating match between Rias and Riser. Issei is sitting in his bed when there was a magic circle appeared and Graphia appeared and said, "Hey Is-kun, Sirzex has thought of a backup, but I requires hiring you. Should you accept it? But you reward is secret and can be only claimed if you win." Issei thought for a few minutes before saying, "Sure, I will do it. I like a good mystery prize." "Okay, then use this to get to the reception," Graphia said while giving him a piece of paper with a teleportation spell, then told Issei what time the ceremony was. They went away to get ready. About half an hour before the ceremony started Issei arrived, then flew in and up so he was out of sight, then sat on Chastiful default waited for whoever was doing the ceremony to say the lines. During the ceremony the person didn't say the lines. And so the person was about to. "As I now pronounce you," Issei shouted. "I object, and what kind of anti-vicar are you? Not saying any here that don't think that these two should not wed? Speak now or forever hold you peace. Or did Riser Phoenix of the noble house of Phoenix pay you to skip that?" And then everyone started to look around trying to find the person that would dare stop this wedding. After a couple of minutes of enjoying the devils looking for him, Issei said, "Look up." When Riser saw Issei he said, "What are you doing here? This is my wedding now, fuck off." Issei said, "Duh, I know it's a wedding, that why I am crashing it, plus I am here to challenge you for Rias' hand." Issei challenged. One of the elders of the Phoenix clan stood up and said, "You can't do that." Issei tilted his head and said, "Oh, can you show me where it says that I can't challenge to take the hand and wed?" Then turned to Riser and said, "So do you accept it?" Riser thinks about it and knows that the boy in front on him is the heir to Ryozanpaka dojo, then says, "Okay." Riser agrees, but let make this more interesting. Issei being intrigued said, "I'm listening." Riser then said, "We make a bet when I am the heir to Ryozanpaka, and if and that is a small if you manage to win you get my entire peerage." Issei said, "Deal. So time and place, where we held the rating game when I faced Rias and, in an hour," Riser said. "Okay, and you can use you peerage one last time," Issei said. "Oh, aren't you cocky?" Riser said. "That is the sin of pride," Issei said. In harem Graphia, Ophis, Shigur going to join Rias, Akeno, Kaneko, Kuroka, Zenobia, Asia, Irina, Rosweiss, Riser's peerage, Tiamat. First, previous ch7 of 9. Next, Issei will have his harem and then some list will be at the bottom. We'll have some characters from other anime but only if I find it appreciate. Issei will have some of the personality of the sins like Meliodas being carefree and a little pervert ban arrogance. Normal talking, spirit, animal talking, sentient sacred gears. Techniques. It is the morning after Issei challenge Riser for the hand of Rias and he is waiting for someone to come and get him when a summoning circle appeared underneath him. Then he was in a battle arena in the underworld and in front of him Riser stood there with his entire peerage. Then there was announcement. Greeting, I am Graphia, headmaid to the house of Gremory and queen to Sirzex. I will be the referee for this fight. Now Sirzex has something to say. Greeting, as Graphia just said, I am Sirzex. Now I would like to ask Issei something, Sirzex said before turned his attention to Issei and said, now Issei, should you win this, what would you like as a reward? What a reward for this insect, Riser said, shocked. Issei meanwhile was thinking when he said, how about my home bigger? Sirzex, who was not accepting that, said, and why would you want that as a reward when you could ask for so much more? Issei stood there and said, well, for starters I am happy with what I have, and another, when I do win this, I will be getting 15 beautiful girls, and frankly my home is at its limit with me, my mother Ophis and Tiamat. Then there is Rias, she does like to pop in and get into my bed when I fall asleep. Sirzex took a few moments to think it though, then said, very well, then you will get a bigger home should you win this. Now I will hand you back to Graphia. Thank you Sirzex. Now then let the game begin, Graphia said. Meanwhile with Sirzex he was talking to the masters of the Ryozanpaka dojo who was talking to Rias said, "Thank all for coming on short notice." Hayato said, "Think nothing of it, imagine my surprise when he showed up with Rias and her entire group, and when Issei told us about the whole thing and what kind of person he was, we wanted to do something, so we trained them." Akisame looked at the king and said, "So Sirzex, how much did you pay Issei to get your sister out of the marriage?" Sirzex looked at the masters with a little sweat and said, "The thing is I haven't paid him yet, and before you get mad at him and try and kill me, the payment is not with money, but I will release Grafia after the match, but Issei doesn't know that at the moment." Akisame looked like he was thinking, then said, "Smart idea with the mystery payment, that normally gets people motivated and we have no problem with that, but the problem will come if you don't pay up." Shiger's turn got everyone attention by saying, "What power you think Iskun will use?" Kensai said, "Well, now that is a good question. Well, it certainly can't be the lion sin, as there is no sun in the underworld." Shio then said, "Maybe he might use the fox sin." After a few minutes of discussing, Sirzex said, What are you all talking about?" Hayato looked at the devil leader and said, "Well, to put it simply, Issei is more powerful than anyone." "I doubt that is possible," Sirzex said, not believing what he just heard. Hayato looked at the Crimson Man and said, "I see you don't believe me, but that doesn't change the fact that Issei has 8 different powers. One of them allows him to increase or decrease his strength depending on time of day. Another one allows him to manipulate the earth. Then you have the one that sent any magical attack back at the caster with double the power. He also has one that allows him who dies. Then there is the one that allows him to enter someone's mind and change anything he wants if used incorrectly. He also has a power similar to Forbidden View. Another power is a much stronger than Divine Divide, and the last one is Key." Sirzex said, "Well, then I better not piss off the kid then." While Hayato was talking to Sirzex, Shio turned to Akisame and said, "Hey Aki, I bet my pudding that he uses the fox Essen." Akisame said, "I will take you up on that offer. For me it will be the boar Essen." Hayato heard what Akisame said, walked over and asked, "Betting on my grandson are we?" Sakari looked at the old man and said, "Yes, but it is a fool bet to bet against him, so it's just what power he uses, as we know he will beat this devil, and it is our pudding we are betting." Hayato looks forward, strokes his beard and said, "Okay, I will bet he uses the serpent Essen." Kensai, wanting in on the bet, says, "I will join and say he uses the goat Sin." Shiger looks over and says, "I bet he uses the dragon Essen." Apachai looked at everyone with a lost look and says, not knowing what is going on, "Apachai will bet on the grizzly Essen." Ophis, who was taking notes on the bet, looks at Apachai and told him, "You know Apachai way are betting their pudding, so if Issei doesn't use the grizzly Sin you won't be getting your pudding tonight," and Apachai just nods. Back in the arena, the moment Grafia said begin, Riser said, "Now boy, Riser is feeling merciful, so how about you just surrender and save yourself being humiliated?" Issei replied, "Funny, I was about to say the same thing." Riser, not liking what was just said, turned to his peerage and said, "All right girls, go and attack that scumbag, and don't you dare hold anything and don't let up." Issei just stood there as the peerage of his opponent surround him when they started to attack him. He didn't even flinch and just took it with a smirk. After 10 minutes of constant attack, when Riser said, "Okay, you can stop now." When they all stopped, Riser stood there with an arrogant smile as he watched the big ball of fire before him, waiting for Grafia to declare he is the winner, and when the call didn't come he said, "Hey, the battle is over, declare me the winner already." Before Grafia could say anything, Issei walked out of the fire in a badass way without a scratch while on him, while saying, "Well, I think the reason that Grafia hasn't proclaimed you the winner might be because I am still able to fight." Riser growled, then fired fireballs at Issei, but Issei didn't dodge the ball, then looked at his peerage not doing anything, shouted, "What are you lazy bitches doing? Attack him again and don't let up." Back with crowd, Sirzex looked at the masters and asked, "Why doesn't he dodge the attacks after he should be fast enough to dodge?" All the master looked at each other, then looked at Sirzex, and Hayato said, "We don't know." And before anyone could chat about what Issei was doing, Ophis said, "He might be planning to use revenge counter." Everyone looks at the dragon and Sirzex asks, "What is revenge counter, Ophis?" It is an advanced technique of full counter that requires him to disable his magical power, which allows him to store and charge every magical attack he receives, then releases then all at once, Ophis said, shocking everyone. Hayato was first to come out and asked, "Wait, Ophis, with the amount of magical powers he has stored, wouldn't he Explode. Yes, when this technique is used, he literally becomes a ticking time bomb, Ophis stated. Back on the battlefield, Issei smirked, then set his arms into a cross, and then a tremendous amount of power started to surround him, coursing high winds. Then with his speed run to Riser, and before he could react it, Issei said, "Revenge counter." Then he exploded, coursing all of Riser and Peerage to scatter by the force of the explosion, and all the latter was knocked unconscious. Riser, being the closest, was injured the most and was on barely conscious. Saw Issei coming over, said while trying to stand, "I cannot and will not lose. I am a member of the mighty Phoenix clan." Issei looked at Riser and said, "And that is where you will fail and lose in this match. You are too reliant on the power that makes you unbeatable, but when it come to someone that has a similar power like I do, it will come down to who to the one that trains more, and that is your Essen." Then Riser, mustering all the strength he manages to punches Issei with an uppercut, and punch was surprisingly strong as Issei flips, then grabs Riser's wrist, then begins to beat him like a rug. After about a minute or so, Issei starts to spin while still holding Riser, then throws him to the furthest wall low to the ground. When Riser hits the wall, there is a small but thick cloud of dirt, dust. When then cloud we find Riser upside down and unconscious. Then Graphia said, "Riser Phoenix is unconscious and therefore retires. Winner of the rating games is Issei Hyodo and has won the hand of Rias Gremory for marriage and the peerage of Riser Phoenix." Then everyone in the arena glowed, then teleported to the infirmary to get everyone healed up. With the dojo masters, Hayato then said, "Well, it looks like Shiger will be having our pudding tonight." Issei was about to leave when he heard someone calling him. He looked and saw Searzex and Lord Phoenix, also his grandfather and masters, heading his way. Before anyone could say anything, Issei said, "I am heading home now. I will come and pick up what you owe," then disappears. Issei reappeared in an alleyway in his block. He stuck his head out to see as anyone was there, then walked home. When got home, he saw his mother and Tiamat watching TV, then said, "Hey mum, Tiamat, how have you been over the last couple of days?" Mickey looked at her son and said, "Been a bit boring, but at least I had company." Tiamat said, "Same here. So what have you been up to?" Issei sat down and said, "Well, to start of the Gremory and Phoenix had a marriage contract with between Rias and a jackass called Riser, and the only way out of the marriage was to beat said jackass. So that night I kidnapped them and took them to Gigi to train, but they still lost. Then Graphia came and said that Searzex has a job for me, but I will not know what the payment is till after I do the job. So I accepted, and in doing so I decided to crash a wedding. Got into a fight with Riser for the hand of Rias, but he decided to throw in something extra as he wanted Rio Zanpaka dojo, so he said if he won he get the dojo. Then I thought about it and saw the looks on the girls he has in his peerage and said I get his peerage if I win. He agreed, and today I beat the shit out of him. Well, I am going to bed as I have a meeting with Searzex and the head of Phoenix tomorrow, and was about to head upstairs when he remembered something. "Ah yes mum," getting her attention. Before continuing, before the match, Searzex asked if there was anything I wanted, and I said a bigger house, as it is getting a bit crowded in the house with Yumi, Ophis and now Tiamat, and adding 15 new girls. There will be no room around here, so I will be seeing Searzex first to see what my payment is for getting Rias out of marring the jackass. Also you are to come with me to the underworld as you own the building, and you should get to choose how it looks. Then I will be going to get the girls from the Phoenix." Then went to bed. The next morning, Issei and his mother are in the lounge ready to head to the underworld when Issei said, "Are you ready mum?" Mickey took a deep breath, looked at her son and said, "Ready as I'll ever be." Then Issei used a teleportation spell to the Gremory mansion. When they arrived, they were met by Graphia, who said, "Welcome to the household of the Gremory family." Issei walked up to Graphia and said, "Hey Fia, do you mind taking us to see Searzex for payment for getting Rias out of the contract and for the house, which is why my mother is here, and I need to pick up the girls from Burned Out Turkey." Graphia looked at Issei with a smirk and said, "Of course, right this way." Then lead them down the hallway. When they got to Searzek's study, Graphia knocked and said, "Searzek's Issei is here with his mother about the payment for the job and the reward." "Let them in," came Searzek's voice. Graphia then opened the door and let them all walked in. Searzek said, "Please have a seat Issei." You to Mickey. When both of them took a seat, Searzek continued, "Firstly I want to say as thank you for doing what you did Issei, and congratulations on the win. I knew you was going to win even though I sounded like I didn't. I understand even though you hired me knowing I would beat Riser you had to pretend that I might lose." Issei interrupted Searzek. Thank you for understanding Issei, Sirzex said before continued. Now then where was I? Ah yes, another congratulation is in order on you engagement to my little sister. Sirzex teased before continuing again. Now then on to the important stuff. Issei, your payment for the job as Grafia is now staying with you when we build the house. Issei, shocked by this, said, are you sure? And I hope this doesn't sound like I don't want her to live with me, but doesn't she have duties being the queen of your peerage? Sirzex looked at Issei and said, the real payment was releasing her as my queen so she can be with you more often. And before you say anything, I did ask her, and she said she was fine, didn't you, Grafia? That is correct, Issei, I did say I was fine being released after I get to spend more time with you, Grafia said, which ended up with her hugging Issei. Now then on to the final bit of business, the reward for the bigger house, and I am guessing that is why you brought your mother along, Sirzex said. Yes, I might have won the match, the house is still hers so she need to be there for the planning, that is if she wants the house bigger, Issei said, then gets up and walks out while saying, now I am going to leave you two to plan while I am going to the Phoenix. Grafia decided to escort him out. When they were at the door, Issei looks at Grafia and asks, hey Fia, which way to the Phoenix estate? Grafia points the way and say, it is that way. Thanks, Fia, Issei said before giving her a kiss, then flying off. After about half an hour of flying, Issei came to the Phoenix. He lands at the front door and knocks. A couple of minutes had passed when a butler answered the door and asked, hello young man, what bring to the Phoenix household? Issei looks at the butler and says, hello to you, I am Issei and I am here to see the Lord and Lady Phoenix. The butler says, ah I see, then please come in, they are expecting you and I will take you to them immediately. Issei then follows the butler. When the duo came to a door, the butler knocked on the door, then they heard, come in. The butler opened the door, Issei walked in, then Lord Phoenix said, ah Issei was just telling Riser that he has to give you his peerage due to the deal that you made. Then Riser shouted, I refuse to hand my peerage over to him. Lord Phoenix looks at his son and says, you have to, we Phoenix are part of the 72 pillars, we have to keep our word that me make other, what example are we giving to the younger and lower class devils? After an hour arguing, Lord Phoenix said, Issei is getting your peerage as you made the deal, you need to honor, as I know that if Issei lost he would have gave to the Ryozanpaka heir title the moment he regained conscience. And do you want the master coming here as you can't uphold a deal? Then he called a butler. When the butler showed up, he asked, what can I do for you, sir? Will you get Riser's peerage and bring them here so that their new master can take them? Lord Phoenix replied. Will do, sir, the butler said, then gave a little bow, then left. 15 minutes had gone by when there was a knock on the door, then the door opened revealing the butler and the Riser's former peerage. Then Lord Phoenix noticed the worried looks that some of them have and said, welcome girls, now let me say one thing before we get to the reason I called you girls here, none of you are in trouble now. Then you see the match you had yesterday with this young man here, point to Issei, was about the hand of Rias. A purple-haired one stepped forward and said, we know that, sir, but why are we here? Lord Phoenix said, Riser told you about that then, but did he tell you that he upped the ante? Ubeluna looked surprised, said, what do you mean, sir? Lord Phoenix said, well, to simply put, Riser bet that if he wins he gets Issei's title as heir to the Ryozanpaka dojo, but if Issei win he gets you lot, and we know who won the match, and now Riser's is refusing to uphold the deal that he made, so you all belong to Issei now. After another hour of talking and finalizing the deal, Issei left with his new maids for the house and headed to the Gremory household. When the group got there, they see Mickey waiting with Sirzex, and Mickey told Issei, the house is now a 6-story building with 3 basements. Sirzex then said, and it should be finished, and your mother has agreed to take Rias and her peerage in, and for that I pay all the main bills, so all you have to worry about is getting the food. And with that they left for their new home. The next day at school, the teacher came in, gets to the pedestal, looks to the class and says, all right, call, we have 4 new students joining us today. Then turns to the door and says, you can come in now. The door opens up to reveal. That's all folks in harem: Grafia, Ophis, Shigur, Rias. Going to join, Akano, Kaneko, Kuroka, Zenobia, Asia, Irina, Rosweiss, Riser's peerage, Tiamat. First, previous ch8 of 9. Next, Issei will have his harem, and then some list will be at the bottom. We'll have some characters from other anime, but only if I find it appreciate. Issei will have some of the personality of the sins, like Meliodas being carefree and a little pervert ban arrogance. Normal talking, spirit, animal talking, sentient sacred gears. Techniques. When the door opened, 2 and 4 people walked in, 2 boys and 2 girls. The teacher said, "Now class, allow me to introduce you to your classmates. This is Nino Lahif. Next to him we have Aaliyah Césaire, then we have Marinette Dupin Cheng, and lastly we have Adrian Agreste. Now can you 4 go and sit down?" And when the new students sat down, the teacher began the lesson. When lunchtime came, Issei walked over to his friends that just transferred in. When he was close enough, he said, "Hey guys, what have you been up to and what are you guys doing transferring into my school?" While Asia and Office was talking to Marinette and Aaliyah. Adrian looks up to Issei and said, "Hey Issei, if been good. Well, my father wants to expand the company and he wants me to manage it, but I need get someone to teach me how to manage it, so he decided here as it has you to protect me from anything plus Ryozanpaka, and one of them might take the position, so I said I would do it, but my friends come with me, so father talked to everyone about it and they agreed as long as you were here." "Cool. Need me to talk to a Kisame as he own a clinic so he might teach you how to run a business?" Issei asked. "That would be great, thanks mate," Adrian replied, knowing he might know someone who knows about the business side of thing. "Not a problem. So what about you, Nino?" Issei asked. "I live hasn't been as exciting as the golden boy here," points to Adrian. "But my DJ life is going great." "Oh, by the who is the cute blonde talking to Aaliyah and Marinette?" Nino asked. "Oh, that is Asia. She is the one with blonde hair. She is a sweet girl. I can see the 3 of them becoming the best of friends." "And Office, she is the one with long black hair. She might appear to be emotionless, but once she see you as a friend she will protect you no matter what." Issei replied. Then he had an idea. "Hey, do you and the girls want to come over and meet my other friends?" Adrian and Nino looks at each other. Then Adrian said, "Only if our girlfriends say it's okay." "Okay. Cool, so let's find out if they want to come over," Issei said. Then he gets up and walks over to the girls. Asia sees Issei coming and asked, "Hey Issei, do you mind if mine and Office 2 new friends comes round tonight, as I want to introduce them to our friends?" When Marinette and Aaliyah heard Issei's name they looked over to see Issei come. Then Marinette tackled him into a hug and she wasn't surprised that he didn't move an inch. Then Issei said in a joking manner, "Easy Marinette, I know I am handsome, but you might want to tune down the affection, otherwise Adrian might get jealous." Marinette, knowing about all of Issei's sins like nature, smiled and said, "Well then let him get jealous," then gave him a kiss on the cheek which caused Asia to get jealous a little. Not being bothered by the kiss, Issei said to Asia, "Well, that is what I came over for. I was going to ask Aaliyah and Marinette if they want to come over and meet the others." Marinette got off Issei then said, "Are you sure eyes? Wouldn't we be a bother to you and make thing awkward for your friends?" Issei said, "Not at all. Mari Rias actually wants to meet you 4. Then leans in then whispers, "She also want to meet your other friends," making Marinette to go wide-eyed. Then he said, "Well, better let the boys know what you said." Then he went back over to Adrian and Nino then said, "They said okay boys." "Sweet," Adrian and Nino said as they fist bumped. After school Issei and Co was waiting for Rias and her peerage minus Asia. Then Issei, "Hey Asia, I need to do something. Mind telling Rias what is going on?" "Sure. Issei, you can count on me, but mind telling me what you have to do?" Asia asked. "I just need to talk to a Kisame and see if he could teach Golden Boy how to run a business," Issei replied, then walked off. Once no one saw he flew off and headed to the dojo. After about a 40 minutes flit Issei got to Ryozanpaka. He then landed at the gate then pushed them open. When he went to the Akisame's room then he knocked on his door. Then he heard his jujutsu sensei say, "Come in." Then Issei walked in and when Akisame saw who it was he offered Issei a seat then said, "Ah Issei, what can I do for you?" "Well sensei, I need a favor," Issei said as he took the seat. "What is this favor you need me to do?" Akisame asked. "Well sensei, I have a friend that just transferred into my school from France cause his father wants him to start and expand the business here in Kuo, but he doesn't know how to run a business and as you run a clinic, so I thought you might be able to help him out by giving him some pointers." Akisame took a few moments to think, then he said, "I will think about it, but I want to speak to the boy first. Think you can bring him tomorrow?" "I will let him know sensei. Well, see you tomorrow," Issei said as he got up and walked out. As he was walking out he saw his Gigi with 2 people. One was female who is extremely beautiful woman with curly blonde hair and a voluptuous figure, and the other a handsome looking man with long blonde hair and green eyes. The male walks up to Issei and said, "Hello Issei, it is nice to see you again." "Likewise Michael, and hello to you too Gabriel," Issei said. "Hi Issei," Gabriel said innocently. Michael then he turns to Hayato and said, We are to discuss a matter of great importance. You see that during the war Excalibur broke into 7 pieces and was scattered. The church found them and made 7 new swords, but one went missing, and a little while ago 3 of the remaining 6 swords was stolen by fallen angels, and the church will be sending a couple of exorcists to try and retrieve them, and they might not want the devils involved. Issei said, "Well, I for one will not stand by and let people suffer as long as I live, plus don't fool in their jurisdiction, so you can tell them that the moment someone dies with a sword wound in this town I will get involved, and I will tell them to fuck off if they tell me otherwise." Then he begins to walk away. Gabriel saw Issei was away, said, "Wait Issei, there is more you should know. We also believe that the person behind the Holy Sword Massacre is behind it." Hayato then said, "Well, thank God that Apachai isn't here, otherwise he might tear the town apart trying to find the asshole." When Issei heard what Gabriel said, stops and turn around, but his eyes won't red, they was black, showing Issei was pissed, and Issei said, "Well, in that case looks like I have a hunt to do, so what do you want me to do with the son of a bitch? Kill him on sight or capture him alive, but I can't promise you what state he would be in just alive." Michael looks at Issei and said, "It goes against what I believe is right," takes a deep breath and continues, "We of the angels want him dead, as what he was doing was unforgivable, and as you know we cannot keep track of him, but we believe he hasn't stopped killing innocent children to get someone to wield Excalibur. Consider it done and want me to give you his head," Issei said, but both archangels shook his head. Hayato then said, "Issei, would you mind bringing him here alive for Apachai so he can get revenge for that one job he failed and give all those parents closer? We don't care what state Haya's in which Issei nods in understanding. Then he walks off and head towards his home. When he got home, he had calmed down a bit. He found everyone in the living room with the kwamis flying about and snacking, while the people was looking at Issei baby pictures with Rias, Asia and Marinette, all gushy at how adorable Issei was as a baby. He turned to Adrian and said, "Hey mate, talked to Aki-sensei for you, he wanted to talk to you tomorrow." "Really sweet, thanks man," Adrian said when Kiba came across a picture of Issei and a girl in front on a fireplace and a sword, then said, "Hey Issei, this picture." Issei looks over and sees the picture, then says, "Ah, that boy used to play together all the time when we was, but he had to move overseas. It's been a long time, I can't even remember his name." "One more question, do you remember this sword?" Kiba asked, pointing to the sword that is in the background. Issei looks at Kiba and said, "You have got to be kidding, right mate? Do you remember everything you see from 10 years? After all, I was 5, it was properly a couple of months before the incident." "Yeah, I suppose you're right in that anything is funny. I would never thought I would see one in a picture before," Kiba said. "Okay, what are you talking about man?" Issei asked. "It's just the sword is a holy one," Kiba said with a look of hatred. Later that night, Issei is cycling to a client of Kuroka's home, wondering what is going on with Kiba. When he go to the apartment complex, he head towards the number, then he rings the doorbell and says when the door opens, revealing a tall man appearing to be in his 20s with an average build, black hair, golden bangs and black goatee, and Issei says, "Hey man, you that guy that summoned the demon?" The dude looks at Issei and says, "Now isn't this a unexpected surprise? I was female devil, not a male one." Issei not surprised by what the dude said, so he explains the situation. "Well, you see sir, the devil you tried to summon was already booked, and as I didn't have anything better to do, I help out." "Oh, I see, thank you for explaining the situation to me. Anyway, I am Azazel and you are," Azazel said. "Well, it is nice to meet you Azazel, I am Issei," Issei replied. "Well Issei, why don't you come in? After all, you did come all this way," Azazel offered as he stepped aside. "Thank you," Issei said as he walked into the apartment. Once inside, Azazel said, "Why don't you take a seat and I will get what I called you here for," then walks into the kitchen. Issei sitting on the sofa thought, weird, this place is cool. And it looks like he isn't from here, kinda make me think what this dude does for a living. The door opens and Azazel, who was leaning against the frame, says, "Fancy something to drink?" Issei looks at the dude, then starts to laugh, and after a couple of minuets he calms down, then he says, "Sorry about that Azazel, but I just couldn't help but laugh because the way you said that and your posture just told me something other than why you summoned a devil." Azazel looks at Issei, then thought to how he said it, then he too started to laugh. Once he had calmed down, he said, "I see what you mean kid, and I am sorry of how that sounded. It is okay and sure is what I would say, but I can't as I am still minor," Issei said. "Really? Well, that suck, as I was kinda hoping for drinking buddy," Azazel said. "Well, that isn't the strangest thing that I have been sent to, but it isn't that much of a surprise," Issei said. "Really, and what is that?" Azazel said. Well, a middle to late 20s single male living alone and can't always drink with his friends and especially on a weekday, Issei explained. Azazel looks at Issei and said, "How do you know I am single?" "Well, that is simple. You do not have a single picture anywhere in this room. My mother, even though she is divorced, she still keeps pictures of her and dad around the home," Issei said. "Well, color me impressed. You got all that from just this room," Azazel said, a little impressed. "Well, this room is the heart of any house, so you would want to show of a little of your daily live like your partner and job," Issei said. After a while Azazel said, "Say Issei, something been bugging me. When you get here you said a demon and not a devil. What was that about?" "Well, that is complicated. Might tell you some other time. That is if you get me again," Issei replied. "Well, that's far. After all, I am just someone and you won't tell anyone you just met your secrets, would you?" Azazel said with an understanding tone. "Well, so what would you like as payment? And as you are not a devil you wouldn't want my soul, so would you like that artwork behind me?" And points to an artwork that was behind him. "Sure. That is fine, thank you," Issei said. Then Azazel warps it up. Later that night Issei is in his room when Asia and Rias came in with a sad look, which Issei noticed and said, "What is with the sour look for?" Asia and Rias begins to explain that had a call about a stray devil that needed to be taken out before the night was done. Then Rias said, "Holy swords are the worst, as just touching one could burn us so, and most of the time just getting cut by one could mean instead death, but they do have a weakness as the users are very rare, and the church could do all that they could to get more users from raising people artificially to use Excalibur. They even created a project just for that purpose and called it the Holy Sword Project, but I heard it had failed." Issei was surprised by this news, said, "Are you sure it was that project?" Asia said, "The church must have kept that super secret, as I have not heard of that when I was there." Rias said, "I am not surprised about that. From what I heard it failed and Kiba barely survived it. And on another note, how did you hear of the project, Issei?" "Well, you see, Gabriel and Michael gave Ryozanpaka a job to find some missing Christian children that had been kidnapped and return them home. But it was later turned to capture one Valpier Galilei. But the masters couldn't find him no matter how hard they tried. They couldn't find him, but they carried on looking, but nobody looked harder than Apachai, as he often goes to the park and plays with the children there," Issei explained. Then he remembered something, then said, "And I think I know what might have set off." He then goes and grabs the picture folder that Kiba had opened it to the picture of him, and the girl then said, "It started after he saw this sword and said that it's a holy sword." Rias examines the picture. The says, "It's not nearly as powerful as Excalibur, but it is a holy sword." Kiba was right. "What I don't understand is how a sword like that would be close to Issei," Asia said. "Well, it might be that his parents asked me to go to church like all the bloody time. It was kinda annoying," Issei said. Rias took a think pose and said, "Well, it's late, time for bed." Then she starts to stirp. "Hey, what are you doing, Rias?" Issei asked. "Well, isn't it obvious? I am getting ready for bed, and you know that I can't sleep unless I am completely naked," Rias said. "That isn't what I meant. Why are you striping in my room?" Issei asked. "Well, I do plan on sleeping with you. After all, you are my fiancé," Rias said. Asia, feeling jealous, said, "Well, I am doing it too," then starts to strip. Once both of them naked, they started to play tag of war while using Issei as the rope, but Issei was not totally aware what was going on, as he was getting a headache, but not a normal one, as he was receiving a message saying, "Find us, worthy one, and reunite us. We long to be one again, but only the worthy can reunite us. All you need is one and the rest will come." The headache was getting worse, and it got the point that he had to hold his head, but used a little more strength and pulled Asia and Rias to him. When they two stopped fighting, they saw something was wrong with Issei and heard him say, "Who are you?" After about half an hour it finally stopped, and it took Issei about another 5 minutes to get his bearings again, and when he looked around and saw his mother, Rias, Asia, Graphia, Ophis, and some of his maids looking at him with a worried expressions, then Issei said in a groggy tone, "Hey guys. Don't hey guys us Issei Hyodo, do you have any idea how worried we were when Rias came to us and said that something was wrong with you? So what was that all about?" Mickey said, scolding her son. Issei looks like at his mother and said, "I wish I knew what was going on. 1 minute I was fine, getting used like a tug of war rope, then the next I was getting a headache that seemed to be getting worse by the minute, all the while a voice saying, 'Find us, worthy one, and reunite us. We long to be one again, but only the worthy can reunite us. All you need is one and the rest will come.'" Graphia then said, after a few minutes thinking, "Aiz-kun, maybe you have been chosen for something." "Maybe, but what is the question?" Issei said. Meanwhile, up at the abandoned church, two robed figures was walking towards the altar. One was carrying a warped sword, and this one said, "Complete and utter ruins is how I can describe it." The other one said, "Well, there is a rumor going around that there was a fight between a group of fallen and a single devil, and the devil won." The one with the sword said with a disapproving voice, "It's getting late, are you sure this is the place we're meant to meet him?" as she pulls the hood down, revealing to be a young woman with chin-length blue hair with a dyed green fringe on the right side and brown eyes. The other figure pulled down their hood, revealing young woman with violet eyes. She has long chestnut hair that is usually tied into twin tails, who said, "Please, like I would be wrong, so give me a little credit as I used to live here with my parents when I was a kid." Then shows her a picture of her and Issei in harem. Graphia, Ophis, Shigur, Rias going to join, Akano, Kaneko, Kuroka, Zenobia, Asia, Irina, Rosweiss, Tiamat thinking risers. Peerage, first, previous ch 9 of 9.